Battling your bed every night? Why? Because you like tossing and turning on that old lumpy mattress you've had since graduation? No! Get a Purple mattress. Only Purple has the grid. It's amazingly supportive and cushions your curves, no matter how you sleep. Plus, Purple's 100-night trial guarantees a great night's sleep every night, or your money back. Stop battling your bed. Get Purple. For a limited time, save up to $350 on select mattresses and bedding at purple.com/sleep-in. Terms apply.
We definitely want a radio side. Mondak, Pam C, looking lovely tonight. Open-minded Clarity, good to see you. And we're going to continue on. Project Blue Book, how you doing, buddy? Sinister Vax, good to see you. My Zoe Buttercup has the cutest smile. Cute Zoe Buttercup, won't you stay a while? I only sing for 2 people, Zoe. 2. You're one of them. All right, Sensational Sherry, Randy Spurl, Richard Elmore, Hawk Paranormal, how you doing? Good to see all of you here tonight. The gorgeous Julie Wheeler, Vanner Smith is here, everyone. Give us a wave, Vanner. All right, let's see who else has arrived. $5,900, good to see you. The gorgeous Science Melinda has returned. And the lovely and talented Selena has come on back home to the SOR channel. There she is. Jello Puddin', Oob to Joe's Main, you've got aliens. And Ibarata, thank you so much for that super chat, buddy. I appreciate that. And thank you so much, man. You're awesome. All the way from Singapore. Let's get going here. Gary Spikes is our guest. And let's rock and roll. Get your horns up. Bumblefoot's coming right now. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. All right. We're talking Sasquatch all night long. Mr. Gary Spikes Jr. is not only our YouTube channel specialist, and he is the reason that we are buying all of these subscribers on our channel, and that is the truth, because why play fair in a dirty, dirty game when we're out there? No, I am teasing and making fun of those who are teasing us out in the internet land, in the internet world. But Gary works for our YouTube channel. He is responsible for our growth, but he is also a United States Army veteran who we are very proud to be associated with. He was a Ranger, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gary.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And he is a beautiful veteran, and we love our veterans around this show. But not only that, he is also a Sasquatch researcher out of the beautiful state of Oklahoma. And I'm going to tell you, we had Gary on the show about 6 months ago, and his encounter with Sasquatch literally shook my entire body. We're going to get into that tonight, and we're going to get into my encounters. We're going to talk about the big hairy beast. And if you are in our YouTube chat room, we are going to put a link up there. So if you've had encounters with Sasquatch, we want to hear them. We want to hear them. So we're going to put those links up because we want to hear your stories as well. Bigfoot all night long on the big show. Gary Spikes Jr., thank you so much, my friend, for coming on in. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Man, it's been a while. What, about 3 hours?
yeah, exactly. Not like you and I don't talk every day.
It's a pleasure to be here. It was kind of a spur of the moment thing, and as usual, it's always a wonderful experience anytime we can be on the show together and pass along the knowledge of the way I like to put it, the target species.
You know, for most of us, my friend, and we'll kick it off right off the bat here, when we think Sasquatch, we don't think the south of the United States. The majority of us out there think Washington State, California, Oklahoma, British Columbia, where all the big forests are, the giant trees, where you walk 100 meters into a forest and you're going to get lost, and just like that. But we really, really downplay or don't give enough attention to the critters that are hanging out in the southern parts of North America here. You know, what do you think about that? Do you think I'm right on that assessment, or do you think that there is enough research going on down there?
I think up until, a few years ago that was the norm. I think you meant to say Oregon instead of Oklahoma earlier. Oregon, Washington, California, Montana, Idaho, everybody associates to the Pacific Northwest. But now we've seen in the last, few years that per report, Oklahoma and East Texas is right up there with Oregon and Northern California. And Florida is kicking up a bunch. Mississippi's kicking up a bunch. They've always been down here in our culture. We've always discussed them, even the First Nations people. But there just was not I love the word. You're actually the one that taught me that word, the plethora. There was not a plethora.
Word. Solid word.
Yes.
Manly word.
There was not, that many reports coming out of this area, but now we're seeing more. And I myself, in my personal opinion, I think that our population is actually growing a little bit down here in concordance to what we down here call the hog boom. We have our population of wild hog is almost at a critical level. It's almost at an epidemic level. It's crazy down here.
That just means more hunting, doesn't it?
Yeah, more food. And with the law of nature, with any predatory animal, when their prey levels come up, so does the predator levels. When the prey levels drop, so does the predator levels. It's a beautiful balance that Mother Nature has given it.
Why do you think that is? What's it like down there? Because when we hear about the creatures up here, we think of a creature that is, I don't want to use the word docile, but that's the one that's coming to my head, that wants to be left alone, that wants to, kind of do its own thing. Very hard to see, professional camouflage, connoisseur. And yet down there, these creatures have the reputation of being a little bit more aggressive and mean.
I myself, once again, everything that you're going to hear tonight, unless I quote it as such from somebody else or from a legitimate source, is my personal opinion. But I truly believe that a lot of it has to do with space. Up there, we have a lot more grand expanses of forestry to where they can, push away. Down here, we don't have that. If you have a 1 million acre game preserve here, that's humongous. So we have a lot more human encroachment upon their territory. So they're going to have to, either push back or move out. And I think that's where we're getting a lot of that. Down here, we say that we call them boogers. Down here in the South, we just tell everybody that they just got a bad attitude because of the heat, because it's hot as hell down here. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to be.
Well, you can say that. That's allowed. But and I understand that, and I can appreciate that. But size-wise, are we talking about the same size creature? 7 to 10 feet, maybe bigger, 18, 20-foot-inch prints?
I, personally, the one that I seen was almost 10 feet tall. We have once again, this personal opinion with just the reports that I've taken, and I counted it the other day, and in 20 years, I pulled out my logs. I've taken 3,750 reports, and individually. And I truly believe that up there, and it's the same, once again, it comes back on Mother Nature. It comes back on the bears up there. We have the big grizzlies, the big browns. We have bigger elk up there. Of course, we do have some of that down here also. But in a general consensus, all the animals are bigger up there. Down here, they seem to be, we do have some big ones. But I would say the average height down here is, 6 to 8 feet tall. and 4 to 6 to 700 pounds. Now the guy that I seen was bigger than that.
That's just amazing. Just amazing. The great debate, and like we said in the previous program about what is it? What is this all about? Is it North America's great ape? Is it Gigantopithecus? Is it a monkey? Is it supernatural? Is it paranormal? The great debate is what I think is something that is very much harming the Sasquatch community. Why does this debate bring in such divide?
I think it's for the lack of better terms, I think it's the nature of the beast. I think it's the nature of the subject. Humans always look, in our sociological and our psychological interactions, we always look for something to believe in or something to debate about. If it wouldn't be Bigfoot, it would be ghosts or UFOs. We see it, you've just gotten me into the UFO community, and man, I just thought that the Bigfoot community was, how would we say, interspectral of
oh yeah.
And I look at politics and religion, and I myself, I think it's a human side of things. I don't think it's them. You yourself have walked this path with me for the past few months, and when I first came on, I was like almost 100% that they was a great ape or a human or a biological creature, and I'm having to renege on that. I think there might be more to this now. Now, my personal experiences has always been of a physical nature, but I'm taking too many reports and keeping a more open mind about it since, speaking with guys like you and Duke from World Bigfoot Radio and a whole bunch of other, folks, Shane Carpenter from Ozark Mountain Sasquatch. And there might be more to this than it just being a physical being. How do we explain sightings on places like the UK? And sightings in the Philippine Islands, how are they getting there? Maybe, I'm just saying maybe. I'm not saying, well, I'm going to say it this way. When I see one step out of a UFO, I will be the first one to preach it to the high heavens. It's going to be a revelation for me.
But that's the thing, though, and that brings up the whole argument, the great debate in the Sasquatch community of what this creature is.
Absolutely.
I don't understand the necessity for the debate. To me, the debate is completely out of ignorance and people wanting to stress their pompous opinions on those who are weaker than them. Do you see what I'm saying? Because go ahead.
I was on agree to disagree.
Okay, why?
There are people that have had legitimate experiences, one direction or the other. Now, I do understand that the arguing in between is worthless, but we do have just like with UFO world, we do have an extreme opposition of experiences, not opinion, but experience. And a lot of folks like to project their personal opinion, which, everybody knows opinions like everybody's got one. But we do have people that has had, you got folks like, my brain just went black. Robin McRae. You got people that had psychological experiences in communicating with these things. People like, and then on the other end of it, you have people like me that's just had strictly physical interaction. So I could see where there would be a little bit of contention there because we have a tendency, once you interact with these, as you know, Dave, even in your own personal life, once you interact with these things, it changes you. And it makes you somewhat of an extremist.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But, the fact is, though, and I will stick with this argument. I'm sure people are sick of me saying this.
No, say it, man.
But the argument is a moot point, considering that we don't know. We don't even know legally and scientifically if this creature exists. Now, I do because I've seen it. I've interacted with it. You do as well. Numerous people who have had encounters will believe that it is real because we've seen something that we can't quite explain. However, for the scientific community or even groups like the BFRO that are out there and denying certain points of view of this creature, that's not the way to get things done. And I would debate that with them simplistically and wholeheartedly on this show if they would come on. But they don't want to. They don't want to because they feel they are right and there is no changing their mind. But the simple question is, you cannot conduct science and experimentation out of opinion.
Absolutely. Or with a closed mind. I did have to ask Ian, what was the name of that organization you said? The BFR No? Is that
pretty much? Pretty much.
No, you're right. You've heard me say it before, and some people take it as kind of derogatory, but I don't mean it as derogatory. I mean it as a joke. I tell people all the time, we're all chasing the proverbial tooth fairy, because until we are able to, I truly believe that there's been good enough evidence presented. But I think that half of the time, the way that it's presented, and there's certain people that don't want it presented as such, has caused it to not become creditable. There's enough evidence already out there. Guys like, once again, I got to say, give a shout out to Duke at World Bigfoot Radio. He's got enough people that has presented evidence with me that just blows my mind. But I think it's how it's presented, and then once it is presented, it's almost like it gets swept under the rug. And I'm not going conspiracy theory or nothing. It's just that the scientific community, I don't think, how would we say this without offending people? The scientific community, it seems to be, they're almost prejudiced about how it's presented. Would that be the correct way of saying that?
I think you could say it that way. I think that's correct. But it still does not cure the fact that shooting down any type of idealism, if we could call it that, about the Sasquatch, what it is, who it is, where it comes from, what it's made of, without proof.
Absolutely.
We don't have a body, as far as we know. There's a bunch of conspiracies that there's bones and everything sitting in the Smithsonian and in dark, deep underground caverns of U.S. military bases. There are Sasquatch locked up that they are trying to make into super soldiers. We've heard it all. That's what the woo is for. Major woo. That's where you hit peak woo right off the bat, Gary. But the big thing for everyone else is we can't play by those rules right now. We can't play by those thoughts. What we do know is there are a number of people who have encountered a massive creature in the forest. And what is it? Where does it come from? How long has it been here? Why is it here? And more importantly, what is it? So with a lack of evidence outside maybe some handprints, footprints, maybe what we feel is actual scat from this creature, all right, and some hair samples, what are we chasing here, man?
That's the question of the day, and I'm going to back up just a little bit to say, what you was talking about, the shooting down other people. I think that's 95% of what's wrong with the issue, the topic at hand, is anytime somebody comes out with a presentation of their experience, somebody's always out there to shoot them down. And this is where I've been preaching for, a couple of 3 years now, being in the position that I am and like you are, that we take reports. These people are already traumatized enough by just the comprehension of having this experience. And then when you put on top of that a few simple words, "Oh, you're full of crap," or "Yeah, right," that directly affects them from that point on.
Absolutely.
Seeing a Sasquatch is a life-changing experience. Yes. Because we don't know what it is. So in saying that, we'll roll right into the topic. What is Bigfoot? That's the question at hand. Well, nobody is scientifically trying to present. Well, let's rephrase that. Nobody is scientifically trying to recognize what is being presented to them.
But there's another good point that you just bring up that, for a lot of our listeners, they may not understand. Okay, and that is shooting down the experiencer who's telling their story before you even really hear it out. I'll give you a prime example with this. Okay, I was on a show recently called Unidentified Celebrity Review with Lou Jimenez, who was, part of our roundtable discussion last month. Great guy, runs a fantastic show, asks very pertinent questions. I expect, any of our listeners to go check it out. And he had about 150 people in his chat room live while they were watching the show, and he's interviewing me about my experiences. And I had a lot of fun with him. But, I go back, and because we have the ability to see the comments in the chat room, there's always those people out there who have to try and bring you down.
Yes.
Like there's people, you didn't experience that. That's BS. That didn't happen. Well, when I saw the alien in the forest with Samantha Mowat, last I checked, Joe Blow from the chat room wasn't there. Samantha was there. I was there. The aliens were there. I sure as hell didn't see Joe Blow from the chat room. Right? But we have this want and need. And look, there's a lot of people out there looking for their 15 minutes of fame, but that is such a small percentage of people who are trying to pull the wool over the community's eyes. But there is such a small percentage, and yet they drag everything down. Like every day is a rainy day for them, and it's happening in every community. So how do you combat that negativity of the encounters to allow people and their great stories to come on out?
That has been an epitome part of my experience over the past 20 plus years. I have always tried to atone myself to people that have a legitimate interest in the subject matter and a honest interest in the subject matter. And I've always tried to keep an air of neutrality. Now, I do have an opinion. I'm like everybody else. I have a very strong opinion, but I'm learning each day. A lot of these folks, I don't know what it is. It's almost like they're, for the lack of better terms, is one bad apple is almost ruining the whole bunch. It's just the way I combat it is I stay consistent, I stay neutral, and I try to stay open for people. I give people an open platform, no matter what you've seen, what you experienced, what happened to you. I'm here to listen.
Angie's List is now Angie. Summer is the perfect time to book your next home project. From lawn care to a new patio, Angie makes it simple to connect with pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, upfront pricing, and instantly book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our happiness guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the happiness guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm. Angie's List is now Angie. Whether you need help with routine maintenance or you're planning your dream renovation, Angie connects you with top local pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, compare quotes, and book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our happiness guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the happiness guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm.
To you, it's your story, not mine. I am just here to help you along with that story. When you come on as a guest or I take your report, it's your time to shine, not mine. Like you said, the 15 minutes of fame. I'm not out here for the fame. I'm out here for the betterment of the species. I'm out here for the conservation of the species. And I hear people say all the time, they've been hiding from us for thousands of years. They don't need conservation efforts. Yeah, they do. We as a species look at the lowland mountain gorillas. They was a myth until we discovered them. Same way with these guys. But in retrospect to what you said earlier, the only evidence we have is a few handprints and a footprint and maybe a fleeting video here and a fleeting video there. I think that we're dealing with something of a higher intelligence level, at least human or higher.
Well, and that's what I think we're dealing with too, and that's why it's so important. Look, we don't start looking for things unless people see something.
Absolutely.
All right? That's what happens. That's what has driven people to this. And I can also understand the handful of people out there who are sick and tired of hearing the experiences. They want it proven already. They're tired of the bad videos. They're tired of the monkey costumes on YouTube, which make up for about 99.8% of all videos out there. They're tired of the CGI. They're tired of the Patterson-Gimlin film being 52 years old and still, the number one film going. You know, I mean, they want something different. You can't argue that, all right? But what you can argue is the fact, as we got about a minute to go here before we go to break, you can argue the fact that you can't shoot down the people who are making these calls, because if you shoot them down, you're running out of sources of where to look.
Absolutely. When you shoot them down, you literally shut them down, and you shut down that train of information. Whether it be real, fake, whatever it is, we still have to have that train of information.
Absolutely. And that's what we got to keep going. That is what we need to be able to keep seeing on there. We need those experiences. And that's why in hour 2 tonight, what we're going to do is we're actually going to put the link up in our chat room on YouTube, that if you want to join us and tell us about your Sasquatch story in hour 2, we want to hear it. We're going to bring you on the air, and we want you to tell your Bigfoot story. We want to hear that Sasquatch encounter that you had. I think that's going to be cool. In the next 30 minutes, though, get ready to have the crap scared out of you, because Gary Spikes Jr. and his beautiful Fu Manchu mustache are going to tell you point blank the close encounter that he had. How's 2 feet? 2 feet, people. Imagine that. Not the 2 feet on the body, 2 feet away from Sasquatch. Next with Gary Spikes Jr. on Spaced Out Radio. Yeah, we good.
Cool. I shall be right back.
No problem. Don't forget to shake twice. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave. Coach Clearfloss, how are you? Major Lee, thanks for coming on in. Murad's Haunted Journeys. How's it going, man? I'm going to check you out. Hold on. I'm going to open up I want to see what you're about. Sounds like a real cool name. Murad's Haunted Journeys. Okay, I hit subscribe on yours, man. This looks really cool. Nice channel you got, man. Nice channel. All right, who else is joining? Hey, Vinster. How you doing, buddy? All right, thank you, Steam Train Mark, letting me know that we are alive tomorrow. Appreciate that. Ross Smith, good to see you. Nice to have you here. Robert Two Crows, my man, how are you? Night Gazer, good to see you. Robert Two Crows has one of the best beards in the chat room. If you can see this, check that out. Look at that. That looks like he just has like 2 coat hangers around his ears, and he just takes his beard off, hangs it up, and then in the morning picks it up and puts it back on. That's a fantastic beard. That's the way they should look. Murray F., thank you so much for that super chat tonight, man. Really do appreciate that. Along with Ibarata in Singapore, and Swampy and Black Dragon, and Adam, thank you so much for your love and support of SOR, everyone. Really do appreciate that. Thank you. Cat Chaser's back. Cat Chaser, we love your support of Spaced Out Radio. Always. You never forget about us. Really, really do appreciate that, Cat. Guillermo, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Oh, Gary Spikes Jr. is back.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go let Scout the Wonder Dog outside.
Mm-hmm. Who's he gonna maim tonight?
I don't know. Yeah, last night was intense, man.
Yep, there's gorgeous Gloria from Casual Conversation. One of her fantastic hellos right there. And let's see here. Where's Deanna up to? So I was like number 36 on her subscribers. She's at 56 now. We got to get her up to 100. All right? Got to get her up to 100. And she's at 56 subscribers now. I'll put the link in here. Go to Deanna's vlog. Go hit that subscribe button because why not? Let's try and get her to 100. Peppa H, how are you? And there's Focus. Focus is back. So focused that Focus to come on the channel. Please tell us what the alien you saw looked like. Which one, Ross Smith? Which one? We're running out of time here. Thank you, Murad. Appreciate that. Evan Chully, how are you? We don't talk politics in here, man. We don't talk politics. So enjoy the woo. Thank you for joining us. And Kevin DeFranco, how are you? All right, we got about 45 seconds. Deanna's like, why the hell are they doing this? We're at 66. We need 34 more. 34 more on Deanna's channel. Let's get her to 100 tonight. Michael Smith, thank you for adding to the super chats tonight, man. Really do appreciate it. All the time, man. All the time. We love you. All right, we got about 15 seconds. Thank you to all the super chatters, all the veterans out there who are listening to this show, and all our regulars in the chat room. Really do appreciate it, everyone. Let's rock and roll here. Get your horns up for Mr. Bumblefoot, and let's make it happen with Gary Spikes Jr. right now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We're talking Bigfoot all night long tonight. Sasquatch talk on the mighty SOR. Gary Spikes Jr. is our guest. He's a researcher and experiencer out of Oklahoma. He is also the man behind the success of our YouTube channel and buying all of our followers, because that is the rumor going around the internet these days. And I've got to have some fun with that, Gary. Got to have some fun with that.
Well, you do know that my channel P3 is actually Poor Boys. The reason we're so poor is because I'm spending all my money on SOR subscribers.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Before we go further, we haven't talked publicly about this yet, because you came onto our YouTube channel about 3.5 months ago now.
Yes, sir.
And you've literally cleaned it up and kind of made a bunch of changes to it and followed some algorithms and did a lot of studying on it, which has really pushed our numbers up, probably 1,500 subscribers since you took over. Maybe more, maybe less. For people who don't know, what kind of a mess was our YouTube channel before you kind of cleaned it up and we started having some success there?
It was interesting. There was so much content, but there was no organization to it. But to me, the most, I talked to you when we first started that, that journey together. The biggest, most epitomal thing for me is when I got you to start responding more daily on a daily note on the YouTube channel to the comments, and people was coming back saying, "Oh my God, they're responding to me." Multiple times. That was the main thing. But I mean, it wasn't bad. There's so much content. Like I said, it was just all
messy.
Unorganized. Yeah, it was messy.
Messy, and you cleaned it up.
We got that done, and we did some stuff. And the beauty of working with you, Dave, is you're so, for the lack of better terms, you're so anal retentive about everything because of that journalism background. So I just pitch an idea to you, and you just take it and run with it. But we haven't really done nothing outlandish. Just honestly got our activities up. We do daily vlogs. We do daily comments. We organized everything, put playlists out there, and started interacting with people. And that pushed the algorithms for YouTube because you already had the numbers. I mean, you was already at, 11,000, 12,000 subscribers.
I think just over 11 when you came in.
Yeah. And we just literally just reorganized and put it out there. We didn't do nothing outlandish.
So what do you think about all these accusations that we're buying followers?
I love it. My father, of course, you know my dad. You've talked to him. Has always told me that you can always tell you're doing something right when people are hating on you. I love it. Hey, bad publicity is as good as no publicity. But when I see a man bending over a microphone like this and just shaking, just red in anger, and I'm not going to say no names, we all know who he is, and he's just so upset about somebody else's success, I look at that and I say, aha, there's about 80% of that part of the Bigfoot community, because they just can't stand that somebody is doing good. They have to run them down. And I'll be honest, I got blocked from his channel by just commenting honest statements. I wasn't even outlandish about it. I just flat out asked him, I said, where are you getting your information? Oh my God, I don't like you. Goodbye. Click. It's like, really, guys? Can we be a little bit more professional here?
I don't know. Gary Spikes Jr. is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And before we get to any audience questions here, Gary, let's get into it right off the bat. You are a Sasquatch experiencer. You started looking for this creature. Why? Why get into this?
I had too many questions. I've always been an outdoorsman. I'm a fourth-generation veteran. I'm a fourth-generation hunter, fourth-generation farmer. I say farmer because we had a few cattle, but we was mainly farmers. But love the outdoors. It's where I find my peace and my solitude. Been out there since where I was raised up. We didn't even have internet we didn't even have telephone in the house until the mid '80s. You as a kid, if you went inside and said you was bored or tried to play a video game, which we didn't have video games, Mom would spat your butt, give you a garden hoe, and put you out in the garden raking leaves or something. And thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Semper Fi, Black Dragon.
Definitely. Wow.
But, make a long story short, I thought I had an experience at a young age with my grandfather in Colorado. We thought we'd seen something. And I had questions, and my grandfather wouldn't answer them. So I started digging. Got to digging a little bit. I seen the famous legend of Boggy Creek, which our farm's not very far from there in southeastern Oklahoma. I actually do a lot of research there. And as time went, having the experience and just spending time outdoors, they always taught us to be aware of our surroundings, and you would notice little things. And I won't get into all of it. I could sit here for hours and tell you little innuendos and stuff that happened. But I didn't have my first sighting until I started actively researching at the age of 17 when I joined the military. And I didn't have my first sighting until 2016, about 5-6 years ago. And it changed everything about my life. It literally changed the perspective of my life.
Now, this story is very hard for you to speak about.
Yes, and I can't believe you volunteered me tonight for it.
Absolutely. Before we get into the story, you're a tough man. You've seen some horrific things that no human should ever see in war zones, in combat, and I'm not trying to dredge up any memories, so I'll shut up right there. But you have seen some of the worst in humanity. I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Okay? Yet you would take that over this encounter again every time.
Oh, easily.
Why? What goes through your mind? Explain the feelings to us about why you would choose being in a combat zone where you could potentially die over having your Sasquatch encounter again.
Being in a combat zone, I was trained and prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, as much as you can be. I was, for the lack of better terms, Black Dragon, very well put. Marine Corps, I was Army Ranger. We, as the United States military, we are trained. If you're a combat vet, you're one of the highest trained military. I was prepared for that. Even spiritually, I was prepared for that because I knew I was going to be in the military at a young age. I'm a 4th-generation vet. I'm a 3rd-generation combat vet. You cannot prepare. I have, man, you're going to drag me up. I don't know how people can say that they have, they must be a lot, either seen something different than me or a lot tougher than me when they say that they had a good experience, because just the sight of one just totally blows your mind. All comprehension goes out the window. I had been raised up as a Christian. And when I had my sighting, I went to the most influential people in my life and asked them, this is what I seen. This is exactly what I seen. What did I see? And their first words was, demon. I'm like, no, I physically seen from 18 to 24 inches this thing standing in front of me, squatted down, looking in the truck window.
All right, let's go back to that day. Let's go back to that day. Start us off right from the beginning of why you went into this area and the history of that area.
This was Thanksgiving Eve, 2016. I had to work. I worked in the oil field at the time, and as everybody knows, the oil field doesn't shut down for holidays unless it's special. My wife was supposed to go to a town close to us to visit with her family. Of course, I don't get along with my in-law, so I'm like, hey, I want to work. I was a supervisor. Lo and behold, we had a machine shut down, so I had the time off. I called the wife, said, hey, you want me to come to Tulsa, or what do you want me to do? But as I was doing that, a friend of mine called me from Texas and says, hey, I got 2 guys that's wanting to go out to – it's not our area. This is public land, but everybody knows that I know that area quite well. I was raised up down there, and I hunted and fished. And being the researcher that I was, I have been known to go with people down there. I don't say I took them out because I don't believe that. We go together. And he contacted me and said there was a couple of guys that wanted to go. And I said, well, when are they wanting to go? He's like, tonight. And I'm like, man, this is Thanksgiving Eve. He goes, yeah, but they want to go. And I was like, okay, I'll go. Called my wife, made my wife very upset, and took off down there. So met them. I'm not going to get into all the details because a lot of it's just mundane, but met with the guys. And one thing that I specifically do is I don't tell them exactly where we're going. I don't tell them exactly when we're going. And we have emergency contacts. I have them meet me at a very famous or, a populated store that's down there, very popular. And then we go from there. And that way, because of hoaxers and people that, have a tendency to come in there and mess with you. So met with them. We went up the hill. We was on to go 3 days and 2 nights. And gonna stay for a little bit, and was on a walk about. I mean, as a crow flies in Oklahoma, you was only 5 miles from a road, but it's it's a good 2-mile walk up into there, down into this little valley. And I've always called it no man's land because every time we've got in that area on the backside of that ridge, we always have a lot of activity, and they're like, they almost act like they don't want you in there, which is, I hear, typical from a lot of these older researchers. Nate Rudd, my brother from another mother. How you doing, man? I had to give him a shout out.
Absolutely. Nate Foote. We love Nate Foote in Spokane, one of Washington State's top Sasquatch researchers in our chat room. Thank you, Nate.
Absolutely. So we hiked, we parked and hiked in there. And by the time we got down there, it was like almost 9, 10 o'clock. it was already even getting dark, but they wanted to go on in. So we hiked in, about 3/4 of a mile. And I didn't want to go any further because the terrain was on what I call a 2-track, which is an old logging road that's kind of grown in, and you just see the two.
Angie's List is now Angie. Summer is the perfect time to book your next home project. From lawn care to a new patio, Angie makes it simple to connect with pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, upfront pricing, and instantly book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our Happiness Guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the Happiness Guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm. Angie's List is now Angie. Whether you need help with routine maintenance or you're planning your dream renovation, Angie connects you with top local pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, compare quotes, and book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our Happiness Guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the Happiness Guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm.
Ruts. They use them for ATVs and stuff now. And there was a little hollow, a dip in the road, and we decided to just camp there. So they set up their tent. I've been teaching the survival and the primitive life skills. I don't sleep in tents. I haven't slept in a tent in years. I sleep out in the open or underneath a tree or in a hammock or in a vehicle. And the story behind that I ain't going to get into. I slid up underneath a cedar tree, rolled my bedding out, got everything set up, slid out, started making a fire. They set up their tents. We'd been sitting there 30, 45 minutes. And make a long story short, we're sitting there and they kept kind of poking fun at me because I was sitting with my back to the fire. I never looked directly at the fire. It's a military and outdoorsman thing. And as time went, I started hearing in the distance. Once you're in the woods a while, any of you hunters and stuff will know, and researchers, when you get in the woods, you start detuning from the outside, all the, I call it trash noise, cars, trucks, and your hearing actually will start getting better over about a 45-minute to an hour time. And we had already been walking up through there, so we're talking a couple of 3 hours in, and I started hearing off in the distance. You could hear, I always call it the hum of the forest, but it's like you'll hear in certain areas, like 100 yards out, the crickets will stop. And you'll hear over here, birds will do a different call. It's just a thing that I'm big into, and a lot of you outdoorsmen would know. So we're sitting there, and I kind of heard that, but I didn't say nothing. Make a long, to get right on into it, we was sitting there. I said, guys, we're going to be hiking in the morning. It's already late. I had already been working part of the day and drove 5 hours to get down there. I said, I'm going to go to bed. And I slid. I always sleep with my head uphill. That way the blood doesn't run to your head. It always runs to your feet. So I was literally underneath a cedar tree that was about this big around. And I had my feet up, and I always, on a steep embankment, I always put my feet up against a rock or up against a cedar tree. That way you don't slide down the hill. And we was sitting there, and as I slid underneath there, up the ridge, because it came up a ridge like this into this little 2-track, was running parallel with the ridge, and it kind of hollowed out, and then it went back up the ridge. Up the ridge, we actually heard a wood knock. And I'm not going to get too deep into all that, because I think the epitomal part is we'd be here all night. Heard a wood knock, and then we heard tracking up above, and they was mid-sentence and stopped. And so we're sitting there listening, and you could hear the activity up above us over a period of, a couple of minutes. And I'm just laying there listening. And then below me, down, coming up the embankment, you could literally hear rocks sliding down where something was coming up the embankment. Okay. Anybody that's done research with Sasquatch, this is just my personal theory. Y'all can agree or disagree. But usually I don't ever look at the direction that the noise is coming from. They're usually making noise to get your attention. But I heard, and this was, to me, in a personal note, this was living proof of that. Something was sneaking up that embankment. And he wasn't probably 20 foot down the embankment below my tree. And at this point in time, I said, okay, I've had enough. And because I'm a true believer that it's not the Sasquatch that you see, if they want to come at you, that you got to worry about. It's just like with a pack of wolves. It's the ones coming from the sides. It's the whole Jurassic Park raptor thing, And because a lot of your predatory animals do that. And I slid out from underneath there, and I looked at the guys, and I said, all right, guys, we've had enough. I'm heading down. And because we've had this kind of activity before, and I know a lot of people are like, you're a researcher, you're an experiencer, you should have stayed there. And yes, but I will say this. This was within a just very short distance, within 3 or 4 miles of the infamous siege of Zenobia in Oklahoma, where an alleged aggressive troop of Sasquatch terrorizing people. And I looked at them. I said, let's go back down. I said, they was upset. I mean, I'll be honest with you. And call me a chicken, call me what you want. I don't care. They packed up. We started down the hill, and we literally got followed. I'm not going to get into all the details. You can catch the whole story on my YouTube channel, but we got followed almost 3/4 of a mile down the hill. You could literally hear them on either side doing little, wood knocks and stuff like that and making noises. And one of the guys swore later that I had him in front with a spotlight, and a guy I was on the back end. Excuse me, I had him in back, one in the middle, and I was on the front with and he says that he was looking over my shoulder, and I told him just take your lights, and for some reason a bright light will kind of keep them away. And he says he swore he saw something moving from tree to tree, but I wasn't paying attention to that. I was trying to get down the trail. We got down the trail, got to the bottom of the hill. I was ready to go home. When I get run out of the woods, I'm sorry, it's time to go home. And they didn't want to. They wanted to go back up the next day and see if they could find tracks. And being the person that I am, and I regret it to this day, but I don't regret it. I stayed there with them. So they set their tents. By this time, it's like 2:00 at night. They set their tents back up, and I'm like, oh, screw this. I just slid in the seat of my truck and had my head up against the driver's side door. And 5 minutes, okay. Slid my head up against the door. I'm going to time this just right for you guys. Had my head up against the door and fell asleep. I was tired by this time. Something woke me up. Whether it was a noise, the truck got shook, or what. And like I said, I'm laying with my head up against the driver's side door. The steering wheel is literally right here. It was a single cab Chevy pickup, 3/4 ton, with a lift kit on it. So the top of the truck was about 6 feet off the ground. Top of the truck, I had to put steps on it. My wife's 5'2". Had to put steps on it for her to get it because the top of the truck would hit me right here, and I'm 5'11". Something woke me up. So I'm trained, and I've always been that way. I don't just jerk awake. I always open my eyes. When I'm in the field, I sleep with my glasses. I open my eyes like this, and they're looking around, and I don't really see nothing. And you could see the sky was, lighter than everything inside. And on the doorpost of the front, I'm facing the steering wheel. I could see out the windshield something dark rounded off. And I slowly rolled my head like this and looked up, and I left from there, came to the doorpost and to the windshield, to the side glass, and there was something right there. It was a face of a mongrel. Could see the head, see the face, see the eyes, see the nose. I don't know how long we looked at each other. I do know that I screamed like a little girl. I lost all control of my bodily functions for a few seconds, and everything kind of slowed down. Since then, I've redone this story. I've wrote the notes out. I've even actually had therapy because of this. The biggest thing that I remember is the size of the mouth and the sheer size of the thing. You could see its left shoulder out the windshield. You can see its right shoulder out the back glass of the truck. And its head and this part of its shoulders filled up that Chevy glass. That glass is 34 inches from front to back and 26 inches from the top of the door to the top of the cab. I screamed. I don't know how long we looked at each other. I screamed, reached for my pistol. All in a split second. I used to say that I thought that it was because I reached for my pistol. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. I think that it seen that it was awake. It kind of huffed because it was cold at night, and it kind of fogged up that window. It stood up. When it stood up, the top of the truck hit it about mid-xiphoid process. He took 3 steps. I specifically heard boom, 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 crash. I lost it. I don't remember a whole lot. I slid up into the seat, started the truck up, put that thing in gear, and took off. I left 2 people behind after seeing that. I drove back down to the store, which is a few miles, pulled in, called the only person that I trust explicitly with my life outside of my wife is my father. Told him what happened. He says, first thing, call them. Make sure they're okay. Don't go back. Next thing, get your butt home. Folks, I'm a decorated veteran. At that time, I was in the 30s. But when Papa speaks, this boy answers. Called them. They said everything was okay. Why'd you leave? I said I had a family emergency. I didn't even want to. I was so shaken up by that time. I drove 2 hours to go to the house, sit at my dad's house. Luckily, I had some clothes because you could not stand to be in the truck with me, if you get my point. That's the caliber of an experience that these things up close, the fear they can put in you. I've told this story enough now, thanks to people like Dave. He likes to drag it out of me, that it's become almost a therapy for me. But people will never understand until you experience that. And that's where I'm going to leave it this before we go to break. How much time we got, Dave?
20 seconds.
Be careful what you say when you're listening to people's stories, because stories like this directly affects their life. And your response to that can ruin their life.
Strong statement, man. And, I know you and I have talked privately behind the scenes of this show about this encounter, and we don't talk about it often, but I can tell you that encounter, to take someone of everything that you have seen in your life, and that encounter, I mean, I can tell right now you weren't even thinking properly, because there is no way, as a soldier, that you would ever leave 2 men behind. You would never. And that's how deeply it affected you. Gary Spikes Jr. is here. His beautiful Fu Manchu mustache looking great on our YouTube channel. You'll have to check that out on the archives. We'll continue the Sasquatch talk, and we are going to definitely hear some more encounters on tonight's show. We'll be back. We're clear. Hey, Life Dweller. Waylon, how are you? Barry Browning. Good to see you. Mennonite Abe. Thanks for coming on in. You doing okay, buddy? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm hating you right now because I got to sleep at some point tonight.
You can hate me, man. You can hate me. But people need to hear that story. People need to hear that story.
Yeah. Paul Holland mentioned something, said if he wanted you, the glass would have never stopped you. I've said it a lot, that I tell people that big brute could have ripped me out of that truck and folded me up and shoved me up the tailpipe like a banana. There's nothing that you could have done. I could have unloaded that 45 on him, and he might have died eventually, but he'd have. No.
No. Definitely not.
And man, you got me on a high horse tonight. That's what drives me nuts, when people belittle. You started this ball game. I hope you're when they belittle people in their encounters. And I have myself in the past, when I hear the crazy woo stories, people having mind speak, people seeing villages of them, and stuff like that. I myself have been guilty of that. We don't know. That's the only consistency we have with Sasquatch. We know more about UFO and have more proof about UFO than we do Sasquatch. But the only consistency we have with Sasquatch is we do not know.
Right. I agree with you. Mitchell, how you doing? All right. We're on a little bit of a quest here. If you're new in the chat room, I'm going to put a link in here. We have a new listener named Deanna. Her vlog is on that channel. Yesterday, when she came into our chat room for the first time, she was at like 35 subscribers. I'm number 36. We're trying to get her to 100 tonight, and we're at 77 so far. So if the Spaced Out Radio listeners can help out, let's get Deanna's vlogs and more up to 100 tonight. Can we do that? All right, can we do that? That would be really, really cool if we could do that for her. Why not? Let's help out another channel. And, yeah, why not? I like doing that. That's going to be my new thing. I've done it twice now. Did it for Sonia's channel. Yeah. Doing it for Deanna's channel. That's what we're going to do now. I'm just going to pick channels randomly and make that happen. Why not?
Once again, the bringing the community kit together, no matter what the community is, uplifting your peers.
Hey, why not? I mean, we pay for ours, so, I mean, we're at 82. We need 18 more. 18 more for 100. Let's hit that goal tonight. Let's hit that goal.
When we get to 10, I'll write a check and we'll get the other 10 in.
Yeah. By the way, Black Dragon, thank you so much for that amazing, amazing super chat. That caught me off guard, dude. Caught me off guard. And way too kind. Way too kind. And thank you. And I'm going to assume with the Semper Fi that you're a former Marine. And that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Because we do, I mean, Gary, you know that we're always thanking the vets for listening in and tuning us in, man. We love the veterans around here. I got a lot of friends who are veterans. And anything that we can do to show support, we're going to try and do it. That is for sure. And so thank you, Black Dragon, and I'll say thank you to everybody else here. Deanna, Patrick, Michael, Cat Chaser, Murray, Ibarata, Swampy, Black again, and Adam for the amazing super chats. Really do appreciate it. And thank you so much. Let's see where Deanna's sitting at here. We're at 85. We need 15. We need 15 more people. I'll put the link up once again if you missed it. And then we're going to put the link up for this channel. If you have a Sasquatch story, and Nate Foot, if you're here listening in, if you want to join us, you go right ahead. All right? I'm going to put our link in here as well. So that way, if you have a Sasquatch stories only, I want you to come on in and join us and tell us your story and go from there. Hold on to that link until we come back on the air in just over a minute here.
Somebody just... I didn't catch who said it. Somebody was talking about this. Oh, Evan Choli, did you smell a skunk smell? In 25 years, I know I've been within 30 yards through audio confirmation and or visual confirmation of this target species, and I've only experienced the smell one time. I honestly, in my personal opinion, believe that they can exude it and not exude it, whether it's passing gas, glands, or whatever. Dang it. Dave?
Yeah.
You on her butt, man. Now I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
We'll calm you down. Tonight.
I'm going to have to go love on Scout the Wonder Dog here in a little bit. Give me some...
Black Dragon's a Desert Storm veteran.
Awesome.
All right, we got 15 seconds. Remember, if you want to join us on the channel here, there is a link. I'll put it up there right now. Bigfoot stories only. Bigfoot stories only. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do Old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Dactylonomy. Did I get that? Dactylonomy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with our good friend Gary Spikes Jr. He's the man behind our YouTube channel. He's also a Sasquatch researcher coming out of the state of Oklahoma. And right before the break, Gary told us this profound encounter that he had with Sasquatch. Gary, I want to ask you right now, and I'm going to take you back into the deep darkness here, and you're going to hate me for it. I know you're laughing. All right? When you made eye contact with this creature, what did it feel like to see it that up close? Like describe just everything.
Overload of fear, emotion, anxiety. I would honestly, in the beginning, I would always say that the fear was the first. In the first split second, when you open your eyes from being dead asleep, from being tired and see this thing. And over the years after, I had the great opportunity of doing a drawing Bigfoot with Larry Batson. He's a very well-known animal guru and artist. But initially, surprise and fear, because the thing is so massive and so human-like and so, how would we say, stimulating, for the lack of better terms. I don't want to go redneck on everybody and say what I was actually thinking. But the initial shock of when it happened, the fear was just overwhelming. And then what was worse than that is the next 3 or 4 days thinking about it, and the doubt kicks in of, did I really see that? Folks, we went back and found tracks. I took other researchers back to that site 2 years ago in 2018, excuse me. And
If you're ready to lose weight, it's time to stop dieting and let Noom put psychology to work. Unlike restrictive crash diets, detox cleanses, or any of the other questionable weight loss fads on the market, Noom's award-winning program helps you form sustainable habits that last. With Noom, no food group is off limits, and there's no complicated calorie counting either. Instead, Noom's cognitive behavioral approach helps you better understand and manage your relationship with food, one meal at a time. Whether your goal is to feel more energized, boost your mood, or finally lose those 5 pounds for good this time, Noom gives you the tools to make it happen. It takes just 10 minutes a day. And because Noom is tailored to your goals and based on leading evidence-based psychology and nutrition science, you always get the expert guidance and support you need to make lasting progress. Start building healthy habits today. Sign up for your trial at Noom.com/balance. That's NOOM.com/balance.
Angie's List is now Angie. Whether you need help with routine maintenance or you're planning your dream renovation, Angie connects you with top local pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, compare quotes, and book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our Happiness Guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the Happiness Guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm.
Renowned researchers, and one of them looked at me. I took them straight to the site, and I was shaking. I wouldn't even take my wife up there. And he looked at me and says, "It's funny, because I had a sighting 200 yards down this ridge."
No way.
That was Mr. Randy Arrington from Ozark Mountain Sasquatch, and Shane Carpenter from Ozark Mountain Sasquatch. that gave me a little bit of closure. That gave me a little bit of peace. That was the first time I'd been back there since we went back and found the tracks. And somebody mentioned earlier about if it's not a 45-70 or 338 Winchester Magnum, 12-gauge shotgun, that's what we was carrying. Not that we was only using it, because I'm strictly a non-kill. I'm not pro-kill. I'm non-kill unless it's in self-defense. But the feeling of that initial shock was initial shock and fear. I mean, I literally feared for the first time in my life. I feared for my life. There's nothing that you can do. I could have unloaded that 45. Like I said in the break, he'd have shucked it off.
Do you think it was the gun that scared him, Gary, or do you think that knowing that you were awake and now moving and seeing him is what scared him?
In the beginning, I thought it was the gun, because when I specifically remember when he looks at me, I was reaching for the gun in my console, and he goes like this, and he back at me and then takes. But now, after years of thinking about it and analyzing this whole situation, I don't know. I can't explicitly say that it was the gun, or if it's his reaction of me waking up. I don't know. In the beginning, I thought it was the gun. I was trying to justify, I can't do that now. I do know that he took off. And I know he took off fast. He sounded like a bull elk running through the brush when he hit the brush line.
Did the other guys hear this?
Funny deal. I talked to him shortly after and told him that I had the family emergency. Then I contacted, I'm not going to use the real names. We'll use the one that I've been using for years, Jeff. I contacted him because the other guy just wouldn't talk to me. Contacted him about 6 months later, and I was talking to him, and I was telling him what happened. And he said they did not see nothing. Of course, they was asleep. But when I left out, and they could literally tell where I'd left because I was slinging gravel all over the car and their tent and everything else. But they said they could hear things in the woods as they was packing up. So they, at the time, no. But I guess later after I left, they could hear things in the woods.
Wow. So this creature really hadn't left. And after you left, it may have been investigating the tent. I mean, we'll never know, but...
Or it had been investigating the tent prior to getting there with me. Because we have went back within 5 miles of there. True experience, and I could bring all 11 guys on right now and give me a couple of days and have them on here, and they would tell you, we went to bed one night, shut the tents down, in not 10 minutes, something walks through the camp bipedally. We got it on audio recorder, lifts. We had a bunch of hot dogs and stuff left on the grill, lifts the grill, and when we come and starts talking and moving, slams the grill and runs out of camp. And we found bipedal tracks. And one of the guys that was with us is a great guy with a Southern Bigfoot Alliance by the name of Tim Autry. Literally, after we got out and started investigating, finding tracks, had a rock thrown and hit him in the back of the head. That was his first ever time out, and that was his first experience.
Wow. See, I've been in the forest here numerous times in British Columbia, and only last year we had the first rock thrown at us. First time. And my buddy Mike and I went to one of our gifting sites, which I don't know right now if it still exists. I'm hoping it still exists. But if not, that's really going to suck because of the forest fires. And I always park in the exact same spot. I always do a little walk in prayer and chat with them, letting them know that we're coming in. Now, that's an area we haven't had any real action since 2017, when the first forest fires ripped through there. After that, you couldn't even see a deer track around on the logging roads. That's how dead that area was. And it wasn't affected by the fire. It was just, I guess the fire was close enough where it pushed the animals away.
Yeah.
So after nothing, again, we were getting ready to leave. And so, you kind of wander, and I walk kind of across the gravel road because I'm just kind of pestering around, just looking for other tracks because there's a trail there. And all of a sudden you hear this smack on the ground. And rock on rock makes it a very distinct sound.
Yes.
And both Mike and I perk up, and we're looking around, and I'm like, did you just hear that? And he's like, yep. I said, did that not just sound like a rock hitting a rock? Yes. Yes, that's exactly the sound it made. And we started looking around. Stayed there for about another half an hour. Got nothing else, but that's the only time I've had a rock thrown at us. Ever. Excuse me.
Once again, I think down here, that is, it's actually fairly common down. Fairly, not very, fairly common down here. I think that's because of the encroachment on their area that they use that to kind of get people out of here. A guy mentioned Bill F. and Murray, who said something about Oklahoma. The Sasquatches are cranky and they throw rocks immediately. It's a fairly common experience down here.
Yeah, and I can see why. It makes sense. I mean, I'll tell you right now, if they have that good of an arm, if I'm a Major League Baseball general manager, I'm trying to sign this thing to a multi-year contract.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, it's something that it just kind of happens. It kind of happens.
Well, a true story, as, teaching the primitive life skills and stuff, I meet all kinds of people. And we met a man that hunted rabbit specifically with stone, and he threw them. And I could take a 22, and he'd get more rabbits than I would because he's quieter. Now, you take somebody that does that is like he was, he throws them a lot. But if you take something like a Sasquatch, if that's how they harvest their game, they would be 3 times better. I mean, look at archery. People that does archery, I do archery. People are uncannily accurate. And with the strength that these guys have, if they want to hit you with a rock, they're going to hit you.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I had one question here from the audience, actually a few people asking, what did its face look like?
I actually got a picture, but of a rendering. Pretty much humanistic. It didn't have the high sagittal crest that I seen because, of course, it was above me looking down. But the biggest thing that stood out with me was the eyes. The eyes was just humongous. Of course, you're talking a head this big around, but the eyes was like this.
Was the head bigger than FAP, our listeners?
That's a good question. FAP, we need to measure your head, man.
I bet you FAP's is bigger.
But its eyes was big. It had kind of a flattened nose, humongous nostrils. I swear I could have stuck my thumbs in its nostrils and had room to spare. But its mouth, to me, outside of the size of its shoulders, and the eyes, of course, it was at dark and there was not a lot of light reflecting back up on it. But its eyes just looked like holes. Of course, it was dark and the light was above it. Its mouth. I don't know if y'all have them in Canada, but most of the people would know what a cantaloupe is. Cantaloupe's about this big.
We only have 1 week out of the year where our grocery stores have cantaloupe.
Well, say not as big as a softball, but something this big around. I swear to God, it was uncanny. Like it, for the lack of better terms, the best way I could describe it is the Joker. You know how he has the makeup that comes all the way around?
Yes.
If you look at a human face, the eyes are wider than the mouth corners.
Yeah.
This thing, the mouth corners was as wide or wider than the eyes. Its mouth, if he would have opened his mouth, he could have took half of my head off. The mouth was real wide.
Did he show you any teeth?
No. He was just, literally his facial expressions was this. And then as he looked, he went, and off he went. When he huffed, he huffed out of his nose. He didn't show me his teeth, no facial expressions. It was just a relaxed stern look, and that most humans get. But I was close enough that I was able to see that the mouth was just humongous. And the jaws and the jawline was just muscular. I mean, it was like a real squared off and blocky jawline.
I can see that. I can totally see that. I mean, Gary, I don't think any of us could really imagine what that's like to have that close of an encounter with a creature that technically is not supposed to exist. I understand your explanation and everything of what happened tonight that you have said, but how has it changed you as a person?
I have always been very big into higher learning, and I've studied martial arts my whole life, and of course I'm a very spiritual person. But the most, you said earlier about how it made me feel with the fear and everything. The most epitomal part of me was later when I went to my preacher, one of my best friends that was my preacher for years, and asked him, and they said it was a demon. I don't want to get into that part of my history, my past. That's a whole nother show. But I have been in the presence of darkness. This was not darkness. This was sheer awe as time went, and sheer natural. I'm sure that they have the capability. Oh, believe me. But my whole point of it is I literally changed religions because of this. The only religion on this planet that openly acknowledges the presence of these entities is Buddhism. And it totally changed I have not killed a single animal. I have not killed a deer since then. And I used to hunt deer. I used to hunt bear. I've killed a few squirrels for survival classes and because I love to eat squirrel and I love to eat rabbit. But I have literally, and I do like breakfast for dinner too.
You sicko.
But no, it literally changed. I tell people all the time that it scared me sober. But my wife had to correct me. I had, made my transition becoming sober before that time. And there was no alcohol involved at that time, but it literally scared me silly. The biggest thing for me, the hardest thing for me was here I am, what I am, a combat veteran and a Sasquatch researcher. I went out in the woods to look for this. And when I found it, it terrified me to my core. And then I questioned myself. Did I actually see that? Was it a dream, maybe? Was it this? Was it that? I went through all the scenarios. When we went back and found the tracks, that told me that I wasn't dreaming. So then we go through the questioning stage. Well, what is it? Just like we was talking about in the beginning of the show. What is Sasquatch? We don't know. We have a lot of theories. A lot of very good theories. I have my own personal theories. But what I seen was physical, just like I'm looking at you right now. Except we're looking from over 1,000, miles away. And I was looking at it at about 24 inches. I mean, it was horror movie perfection. They ought to make a movie about it. Because...
How small did you feel?
At the time or afterwards?
Both.
At the time, I wasn't feeling small. At the time, I was feeling sheer terror and surprise. But later, especially when I went back out in the woods, it took me 4 years to go back out in the woods by myself. And that's actually on my channel. I filmed that weekend. I would go out with other people searching for Sasquatch because I was always taught that you face your fears. And that's the reason I do it now. Is I go to face my fears. But now it's not so much a fear. How little did I feel? I wouldn't say that I felt little. I felt, for lack of better terms, I felt reinforced that I was not the top of the food chain. It knocked a lot of arrogancy out of me. Because being airborne ranger and combat vet and a big burly guy, macho, I'm walking around these woods. Yeah, these are my woods. No, they're not. We're there because when you get in the presence of one of these, It's because they want you to. Their skill set. That changed my whole perspective of research, changed my whole perspective. I started tracking instead of interacting and started learning patterns. And there is no comparison of skill set.
Vinny says in the chat room, Dave faces his fear by going to the salad bar. Thanks, Vinny. Appreciate that. Gorgeous Larry has a question for you. Did it look like or resemble the skulls in museums they say are extinct species of pre-human?
The face that I seen, there is no comparison to the size with a human. The build is totally different. There is not a human on this planet that has shoulders that freaking broad. The face looked human. Like I said, I didn't see a coned head. All I seen was the face and the chest. If you took Arnold Schwarzenegger, literally, with a wider base, wider weight. If you took Arnold Schwarzenegger's upper body, set it on top of Andre the Giant, and added 2 feet to it, even the facial structure of Andre the Giant with the kind of the crowning, protruding eyebrow, that's about what you'd get. If you took straight shoulders down into a V and then wide hips into big legs, folks, we're talking 5 feet across. We measured it with a tape measure. To be able to see out either side of that cab, his shoulders was almost 5 feet across. The head, that big around.
Adam has a question. What advice would you give for someone new to searching for Sasquatch?
Be very careful what you wish for. I get such a kick out of these guys. I want to see a Sasquatch. Be very careful what you wish for, because it will change you one way or the other. There are people out here that have seen Sasquatch and fell in love with them, and I'm not doubting that. I don't love them. I've got I fear them. I've got a very healthy respect for them. People ask me, why do you keep going back? So in advice, I would say go into the woods with an open mind, observant mind, with your head on a swivel. Never go alone. I go alone sometimes, but I have a skill set. I'm trained to do that. And I'm not saying that I'm any better than anybody else, because I'm a crippled up dude. I just have made allowances in my training and in my life that I will go by myself, and very seldom.
Well, B. Hoff says, what you saw was Fap's head in the forest.
Well, if that was Fap, I don't want to meet you, because you're scary as hell.
So for our people listening in Radioland, one of our listeners, Fapster, in our YouTube chat room, he always brags about the size of his head, that it's very large. He can't fit baseball caps on it. So that's why we like to tease him a little bit. All in good fun. All in good fun. Gary Spikes Jr. is here. We got about another 30 seconds before we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We are talking Sasquatch all night long. We're trying to lure Nate Rudd from the Washington, Idaho Bigfoot Society to come on in here and join us. Except he's probably getting out of the gym right now. That dude used to bench press like 500 pounds.
He still holds a national record.
Yeah. 500 pounds.
Yeah.
This guy could literally wrestle a Sasquatch.
No, he couldn't. No, he can't.
I'm not putting money on him that he's going to win.
He could attempt.
He could attempt.
Well, you got to understand.
There is no way he is locking a figure four leg lock on it.
Your brain on Sasquatch.
You got that right. Sasquatch Talk continues on Spaced Out Radio. Gary Spikes Jr. We're looking for Nate Foot. Where are you, Nate Foot? We'll be back right after this. The one I saw had a cone head.
This one very well could have. I just didn't see it at that angle, because he was above.
Flash forward. Thank you for joining us in the chat room and for the first time, and thank you for that incredible super chat. Really do appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And Yeah, Nate Foot, grab a phone cord. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. You got 5 minutes, buddy. 5 minutes. And thank you to all our listeners for going over to Deanna's Vlogs and More. She's a new listener here. We helped her out. She was at 35 subscribers yesterday. I was number 36. She's now at 101. 101. So that's awesome. That is awesome. Let's see here. We'll get into some more questions here, guys, when we come back from the break. Mark Rademacher, how are you, man? Silent Edge Manny, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. I hope I'm not missing anybody. I'm trying to keep on top of it. All these beautiful new faces coming in for the first time, checking us out. Really do appreciate it. Thank you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So for people who are new here, just so you know, we are a live radio show. So we do have to go to break here at the top and bottom of the hours. So that way we time everything out. So that's why we kind of have like playtime here in between. Alien Critter, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Sovereign Mind, does the forest always go quiet when they come around? Oh, yeah. Yeah, my experience has been that too, my friend. Jeremy Jones, hating on the Canadians tonight with Life Dweller. What's wrong with the Canadians? Except maybe Toronto. Toronto people.
Angie's List is now Angie. Summer is the perfect time to book your next home project. From lawn care to a new patio, Angie makes it simple to connect with pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, upfront pricing, and instantly book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our happiness guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the happiness guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm. Angie's List is now Angie. Whether you need help with routine maintenance or you're planning your dream renovation, Angie connects you with top local pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, compare quotes, and book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our happiness guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the happiness guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm.
Off. Vancouver people are too. The rest of us are okay. The more north you go, the nicer we are. Sovereign, you need 1,000 subscribers, I believe, to be able to hit the super chats. Is it super chat? No, before you can monetize it. I think it's. Let me find out here for you. I forget. Let's see here. You need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time in 12 calendar months in order to make it happen. Oh, look at that. Look at that. There he is. Look at that.
Fellas.
What do you bench press tonight? What were you bench pressing tonight?
Just a couple cheeseburgers. Hi, Gary.
How you doing, brother?
I'm great. How are you? How you feeling?
I'm getting better. Getting better every day.
Good.
Getting better every day.
Good.
Hey,
I just thought it.
That's Nate Foot right there, people. Nate Foot.
I'm sitting here in my kitchen. I was listening to the show and thought I'd pop in and say hi to two good friends here.
Good. You're staying up another hour.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
We're going to go into.
Are you guys on break?
Yeah, we're on break right now.
Okay.
Yeah. We got about a minute 20. Minute 20.
Gotcha.
We got to get Dave. You got to get Nate on and discuss everything that's been going on. He's been a busy.
Well, I mean, we don't know. A pretty face like that, he might be turning into a television star here pretty soon. We don't know. He's got so many NDAs signed out there right now that, hands. I mean, look how perfectly coiffed that hair is.
Speaking of which,
that's a $200 haircut. That's not a $10 barber special. That's a $200 haircut right there.
When's the air date, Nate?
I don't know. It's in October sometime. I actually don't know yet, so I'll definitely let you guys know.
Yeah, because we definitely want to put it out there. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Hint.
No, it's
TV star.
No, and I'm not going for that. I think you guys know that. It was just an opportunity that came up.
Bullshit.
It was a cool. It was a
great opportunity.
It was a cool experience. Sorry, I'm trying to get. There we go. I got my camera finally.
Okay, hold on, guys. Here we go, everyone. Past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the guy behind the microphone, the face for radio, and the man that the Sasquatch doesn't want to meet in the forest. We want to say thank you to everyone listening in, and of course you can get our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight talking Sasquatch all night long. Gary Spikes Jr. with his incredible encounter that he just told for the last hour of the show. If you missed it, you want to check out the archives on that one. And now from Washington, Idaho, Bigfoot Society, the legendary Nate Rudd, otherwise known as Natefoot around here. He's sporting a new $200 haircut. Not one of them $10 jobs you get at the barber shop on the corner. No. This man goes all out all the time, And Nate, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Oh, thanks for inviting me in, Dave, and good to see you, Gary.
It's good to see you too, brother. It's been a while.
It's been a little while. I think we've all been busy, yeah. But
Nate, I gotta ask you. Nate, I gotta ask you, if you had an encounter like Gary did, where it's literally about 2 feet away from you, and even though you're in the confines of your own vehicle, how do you think you would react to that?
Oh, boy, it's hard to say here. That's a tough one. Listening to Gary tell that story, sorry, I got to make an adjustment here. I think I'd be terrified, I mean, how could you not be? Seeing one that close, and like Gary said, it could bust through that window and pull you out and fold you up, and they're just, they're so powerful. It's I can't even say how I'd react. I mean, because you don't know. I'd like to say I'm a tough guy and I'd react just fine or whatever, but no, it's that would be scary.
Well, see, I'm not that way with you on your experience though, where it shoved the tree down in the camp. While that would be, I'd have done been packed up and out of there. I mean,
yeah, we did that. We left. We didn't leave right away, but we got to a point where we couldn't take anymore. We were stressed out, no sleep. Yeah, we gave up, But yeah, they have a way of if they want you to leave, they'll get you to leave. There's no doubt about it.
Tell our audience about that encounter, Nate.
All right, well, I could do that. Yeah, I know you guys have heard it and stuff, but this was our hunting camp encounter in 2017. Me and one of my best friends, Rob, we hunt together every year. Go to the same spot every year, Squaw Valley, Washington. It's about 7 miles west of Highway 57 along Priest Lake and Priest Lake, Idaho. It's on the Washington side because we live in Washington, so we hunt there. It's a week-long trip we do every year. We take a week off work and set up a big camp, and we stay there all week. But this one particular year, it was a couple years after the fires up there. So this one particular year, there wasn't there was maybe one other hunter in the whole valley the whole week. It's the only person we ever saw. So it was real. There was no one else up there but us. And, we went into our camp. It takes a good long while to set up. Big canvas hunting tent, and a lot of stuff. When you're staying there a week, you gotta prepare. So we got there, and I threw out a scream. I kind of start our trips this way usually, because you never know what you're going to get, right? I threw out a scream and a couple tree knocks, and nothing happened that day. But boy, it turned into one hell of a week. Got a storm here behind me in the window. You can probably see it. So there was a bunch of fires up there, and so it was real quiet. We went out and hunted that day. After I did that, set up camp, and for whatever reason that day we came back for lunch. A lot of times we won't do that. We'll come back after dark. But the first day we came back for lunch, and the first thing we noticed, we pulled into our little entrance to our camp there, and there was this tree laying across the entrance. Really strange. We knew it wasn't there when we left. I mean, it was real obvious. And we pulled in there, and this thing was across the entrance. And I looked at my buddy Rob. I said, "Shit, that wasn't there." When we left, he goes, "No, it wasn't." And so we jumped out of the vehicle, and I went over to the tree. It was probably a good 3-4 inch diameter, smaller tree. I wish I had the pictures here. So it's great when you have the pictures you can show people. But I picked it up, and it was heavy. It had a huge root ball on it. It was obvious it was pulled out of the ground like a carrot, When you pull a big weed or something out of the ground, it has a root ball on it. This thing had a huge root ball. When I picked it up, all the dirt fell off right there, all over the entrance. And so it was obvious to me that thing was placed there. It was pulled out of the woods somewhere and placed across that entrance there. It wasn't dragged in, because if it had been drug in, you'd see a trail of dirt behind it. That's how loose all the dirt was on it. So very, very strange. And so we just, I knew something was up right away. My buddy's a big skeptic, or he was. He's not anymore. And that later that night, we started getting the tree knocks in the distance. It's kind of a valley. It's a long valley that runs through there. And there's a couple tree lines. There's a tree line about 200 yards away from where we camp, and we're in the opposite tree line on the east side. And we started hearing knocks at night. The first night they were distant. It was like we'd hear one or two across that 200-yard tree line, and then we'd hear one back behind us. And, I knew what it was right away. And then, it got worse each night. But the next day we went out hunting. We get up early, head out. We're out all day that second day. It was either second or third day. And we came back after dark and pulled into the entrance there again to our camp. And immediately I spotted this tree that was pushed over right in the middle of our camp. It almost hit our camp table and all our gear and everything. And this was a big green, probably I'd say 25-foot, maybe even 30-foot green ponderosa pine type of tree. And it was dark, so we're hitting it with our flashlights. By this time, I'm kind of freaking out a little bit. The one was weird, and then we came back the next day or night, and this one's pushed over in camp. And it was just a big tree. And so we looked at it, it was dark, obviously. So we got a better look at it the next morning, and this thing was pushed over and snapped off right at the base of the roots. So you could see where the roots had just been torn apart. It was a healthy tree. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. Real green, healthy tree. And, I'm pretty freaked out because our tent's not too far from here. And I start to think, well, what if this thing pushes one over on our tent? There's always a few big dead trees around, But this thing was healthy. And then the tree knocks started ramping up even louder at night. And basically, I could go on, but long story short, it got worse every day, every night. The pressure got worse. They wanted us out of there. It was real obvious. And, we'd hear these knocks at night, Dave and Gary, at 2, 3 in the morning, just super loud. By maybe the third or fourth night, they were right behind our tent. super, super loud knocks. I'm assuming it's a knock. It sounds like wood on wood. I'm sure a lot of people have heard it. That's all I can imagine it is, unless they're clapping or something. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we call them wood knocks because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like wood on wood, real powerful swing and a knock. But so this was real unnerving because, like I said, we as the week went on, as the week progressed, it ramped up, and I mean, we weren't sleeping good. We were getting woke up at night multiple times. It wasn't constant. It would be, we'd hear them, like when we pulled into camp, we'd hear kind of a distant one or two, but then at night they'd come in close. It was obvious. And, a few times we ran out of our tent. I remember one point we did 1, 2, 3, unzip the tent, run out. We both went two directions around the tent and we have good flashlights. And we're shining them in it's thick woods. We're camped in a wood line, and you didn't see anything. And that was a weird thing. Didn't hear anything. I mean, we heard the knocks and all that, the loudness of that. But when we went out of the tent, it was like silence. Like just you couldn't hear anything. Just pure silence. And that was the creepy thing because you knew they were close, but you couldn't see them even with those powerful flashlights. And we spent, I don't know, 20 minutes, half hour, a couple times looking around the tree line, it's hard to explain. I don't know how they evade us like that. I don't know if,
that's the big question, guys. And you guys are way more experienced in the research side than I am. But I mean, how can a 500-pound creature, well, we can assume that's a middle of the road size, how can this thing run through the forest silently? Bears make sounds, cougars make sounds, deer make sounds. Now, obviously, people have heard Sasquatch make sounds. Let's not be too, give them too much credit. But for the most part, in a situation like this, boom, it's gone, disappearing.
Yeah.
There's always tree branches on the ground in the forest. There is one thing that is guaranteed in the forest. There is tree branches and twigs and sticks on the ground that you snap and you're trying not to, but it happens. How are they getting away?
Are they getting away?
Yeah.
Are they going away?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to see, Gary. And that's a great point, Dave, because I always tell people, a lot of times when I tell this story, I've heard a bear. When you spook a bear, I'm sure you have, Gary, too. They're when they take off, they make all the noise in the world. They're cracking sticks. They're going through brush. I mean, it's loud. And I know a bear can be stealthy coming in, but that was the perplexing thing, and that was almost the creepiest thing. It wasn't so much the loud knocks and stuff. Yeah. Obviously that's stressful.
Well, let's look at it on a report level. How many times have you heard of reports of them just freezing?
Yeah.
They know. They have a Nate. We've talked about this. We're not even going to go to the woo side of things. We're just going to stick right with the physical side. They have a higher level of intelligence. They know if they're 10 paces in the brush, they've got 4 layers of brush ahead of you. They know if they freeze, you're not going to see them. But one thing I want to say about what that's doing to you, Dave, Nate, that is a prime example of what they taught us in anti-guerrilla warfare, psychological warfare. Let you get good into sleep, wake you back up. Let you get good to sleep, wake you back up. They wear you down.
Right. No, that's a great point, Gary. That's kind of what happened. They just wore us out mentally and physically. And and then, so we went through those couple of nights with the loud tree knocks. And then I want to say it was the 5th or 6th night. This was kind of the last straw for us. We were sleeping again, middle of the night. I don't even know what time it was. I woke up to this super loud, deep growl, and it sounded like it was right behind my head. My head was in the corner of the tent. My buddy Rob's sleeping next to me, I don't know, 10 feet away or whatever. And at first I woke up, I heard it, but you second guess yourself. I had to lay there and I thought, did I really hear that, or did I just dream that? But it happened again almost right away. And I was awake, obviously. really loud, deep growl. And so I heard it twice, and then I was okay. I start kind of not shouting, but trying to wake Rob up. I'm like, Rob, wake up. There's growling outside the tent. It happened 2 more times. It happened a total of 4 times. So he heard those 2 other growls, which was perfect because it validated it. And he goes, I heard it. And so I go, well, what are we going to do? And it was one of those things where, well, I don't sleep with my pants on. I do since then, but I wasn't at the time. So we had to throw our pants on and grab our guns and stuff. And that was the last time we stormed out of the tent. And same thing, nothing running away. I distinctly remember when you wake up to a growl like that and you're in grizzly country and bear country, you automatically think bear. And you're half asleep, right? So we're running out of the tent yelling, hey, bear, because I really did think it was a bear at first. But looking back on it, the way they were just so deep, it wasn't, to me, it didn't really sound like a bear growling.
Yeah.
Honestly. We've heard, I don't know that I've even heard a bear growl for real in the wild, but I've heard it on TV. I've heard grizzly and all that. So I think we kind of know what that sounds like. But so we did that. We stormed out again. And I mean, here we go again. Nothing running away. Couldn't see anything. I don't know if they're dropping down on their bellies and blending in with because it is thick, it's thick forest, a lot of brush, a lot of big trees, or if they're just standing behind a tree frozen and it's the middle of the night, it's dark. You're right, Gary. If they're not moving at all, they just blend in. You can't see them. They're dark colored. And so again, long. I don't want to go on forever, but
no.
We had to make it.
And I agree. Sorry for cutting you off, Nate. I agree with you on that because when we got chased out of the forest, Merle, Mark, and myself in 2018, this one that we had heard talking to us previously, and eventually we found the trail how we got to Merle, was literally 20 feet behind Merle in the back of some shrubs and brush and trees. And Merle did not see this thing. And yet, there it is. I mean, either I look at it, if you want to go woo, you can say that it was able to cloak itself.
I think we have to.
Like 20 feet. That's it. You can, but the thing is, if you want to go woo a little bit, you can see in the daylight through trees and shrubs. You can see something that just isn't blending in, something that looks a little bit awkward. There's always a way to see into something in the daylight. And yet he saw nothing.
That's what I'm saying. If we, in my prior statement, up to that point, well, let's just take the critical reports. But honestly, Nate, you was part of that kind of converted me brought me over to the woo train. But that's an aspect of up until now, we're just looking at the physical reports and the procedures and the behaviors. Then when you tack the woo thing on top of it, it adds a whole nother 26 million dimensions. It's just there's too much there.
Yeah, there is. It's hard to explain, and I don't know if it's. I would say it'd be easier to call it paranormal. I try not to call it supernatural, but paranormal means not normal.
Yeah.
And I just think of it as they have these abilities that we just don't understand yet, right? We just can't figure out how they do things. And, so we had to make a decision there at that point after those growls, because we had one more night we were going to stay, to finish out the hunting trip. And I talked to Rob, and I'm like, hey, what are we going to do? Are we going to sleep with our clothes on and our guns on our chest this last night? But it was ramping up, and looking back on it, I don't know, like part of me regrets leaving, right? Because I wonder what would have happened. I mean, it could have went bad. I don't know. But we decided that we were so stressed.
Angie's List is now Angie. Summer is the perfect time to book your next home project. From lawn care to a new patio, Angie makes it simple to connect with pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, upfront pricing, and instantly book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our Happiness Guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the Happiness Guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm. Angie's List is now Angie. Whether you need help with routine maintenance or you're planning your dream renovation, Angie connects you with top local pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, compare quotes, and book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our Happiness Guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the Happiness Guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm.
Out and lack of sleep for a couple nights, we've finally just decided to call it, throw the towel in, and we went to my father-in-law has a lake place about half hour away on Priest Lake on the Idaho side, and he has a cabin there, so we decided to go over there and get good night's sleep. And but before we left, another weird thing is Rob put his lantern on low in the tent right before we left, so it looked like there was light in the tent. And we took off, and that thing will run, 24 hours on low or whatever. We came back the next morning to pack up camp, and of course the lantern was still on in there, but the zipper was zipped up because you zip it down to close it all the way down. It was zipped up a good 8-9 inches, and I have pictures of that too. But
interesting.
So something had come in there. Someone come in there and saw the light in the tent, and manipulated that zipper, pulled it up. I mean, a good maybe even 10 inches. But
that's just creepy.
It's creepy. And I also got to mention, like I said, I don't want to go on. I know you guys have heard this. I don't want to go on too long, but I always forget to tell this during when I'm telling the story. But about 3 or 4 days in, we set up a couple, because we had game cams there because we're hunting. We set up a couple game cams. We put one behind the tent and one out in the middle of camp. And we really should have got that tree that was pushed over. And we should have got whatever was behind the tent growling. But the one behind the tent, I'm going to say it malfunctioned. All the pictures we had on there, were like milky white cloudy pictures. It was just, we pulled them up on the screen and you couldn't see anything. It looked like ghostly or something, just like a milky white. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. And then the one where the tree was pushed over, that next morning, Rob, we remembered we'd set up the cam there. And he went up to check it, and right away he saw that there was, this is going to sound weird, but there was a dead moth placed backwards over the camera eye or the lens, like kind of squished on there. So it didn't take any pictures. It didn't get the tree being pushed over, any of that. So more weirdness with cameras and stuff. Seems like they can manipulate cameras and just mess with them, and almost like playing, like Gary said, psychological. It's like they're playing games with you to see what your reaction is, just trying to drive you crazy.
Joe Monk down in California, he always has some weird stuff happening. He caught some incredible audio on his phone just last week. I gotta grab that. And
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, it sounds really, really weird. And I mean, this is coming from beside his barn, and I believe Joe is maybe 100 feet away, if that.
Wow.
If that. And long story short, I mean, these cameras that they seem to be able to manipulate, do you think that they are seeing the red lights on the camera, or they are seeing or smelling the metal, or their hearing is that acute that they are hearing the camera's maybe vibration or sound? We got about 2 minutes here. Gary, let's start with you. You're the tech guy.
Combination of all three. I've done IR studies with my dog. My dog sees IR spectrum. My dog can smell the plastics. They use my dogs to track drugs and bombs. I believe it could be a combination of all three. And then add this. They watch you when you put it in. If I came in and put a camera in your living room, you'd know it was there.
Yeah, good point, Gary. And I think they were watching us that whole week. Once it started, I think they were around the whole time, because we'd pull into camp after hunting and we'd hear a knock. It was almost like they were alerting each other that we were back, or one of them was. And I know bears can smell cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll chew a camera up if they can get a hold of one. So yeah, you're probably right, Gary. It's a combination of things, but they definitely have these. I mean, all I can say is they have these abilities that they seem to have these abilities that we don't understand. We don't know. It's a very strange thing, but A lot of guys have had issues with cameras. It's real hard to catch them on them.
3 months ago, we had a lot of the same white washout on 47 pictures at Brown Springs, Oklahoma. Down on the
I remember you were just on that trip. Well, that's interesting to hear. Kind of validates the pictures we got there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how to explain that, but yeah.
That's just incredible. Do you think there's any ties between Sasquatch and the missing 411 people? We got 40 seconds left, and this question comes from Gloria.
I've always said that I think some of it could be that. I don't think all of it is. I think there's a lot of weird things out there. I personally believe in UFOs and aliens and other life, and I think there's other entities out there too in the forest. We could go on and on, but I think there's a good possibility. The Native Americans believe that they stole women. Well, they knew they stole women and children. Certain clans or certain, if they're like us, I think they're more human than ape. That's just my opinion. If I am right about that, there's good ones and bad ones, just like there is humans. I think if you run into the wrong one, you make them angry, things could go sideways.
Nate Foote and Gary Spikes Jr. and Nate Rudd, two of the best Bigfoot guys we know around here, talking Sasquatch for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. Then Stetson John's going to join us for the UFO report and the bottom of hour number 3. We'll be back. It's good stuff, boys. Good stuff.
Thanks, Dave. I've told that story so many times, but it seems like I always forget little bits or pieces, or I get it out of order. So forgive me if it's a little off. But
one of my critics yesterday, when I was telling my story about Samantha Mowat in the forest, he thought my story with Samantha was bunk because I could remember the details of what happened, but I couldn't remember the in-between conversations that we had walking into the forest. So don't worry about it.
From my story, they're lucky that I remember anything prior to seeing the face.
Yeah. You had that's a PTSD encounter there, Gary. That's a whole nother level what you had.
And in answer to that question before we came on break, seeing what I seen and knowing what we know, if these things want you, they ain't a damn thing you can do about it.
Exactly.
Good evening, A.A. Ron. Good to see you. The original A.A. Ron. There he is. Can't see your storm. How is the 12,000-foot mansion you're living in right now? Overlooking 850 acres surrounded by a moat.
Oh, boy. No, we got a pond down below. It's
alligators, piranha in there, keeping all the bad people away.
There's a lot of wildlife out here. It's nice. It's peaceful.
I bet, man.
Seen a lot of big bucks, Gary. Seen a lot of big whitetail bucks out here already. So if I don't have any luck during regular season, I know I can probably shoot one late season out here when they're in the rut and chasing the does around.
Oh, yeah.
But then you get that tough meat.
Yeah, and I got to admit, I'm not a huge fan of venison. I like the sausage and the jerky and all the good stuff. I'm not a huge fan of the steaks, but I'll get it made into good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll eat it up. And then I always end up giving half of it away to buddies and stuff like that. But it's just fun,
Every year my neighbor goes black bear hunting, and every year he delivers me some black bear sausage.
Oh, don't stop it, Dave.
Oh.
How is it? Dave?
Oh, my
Good?
God.
Oh, dude.
Bear is the most wonderful meat. Black bear is the most wonderful meat on the planet.
It is wonderful. It is wonderful.
Stay away from coastal brown bear. It sucks.
Grandmaster, how are you, buddy? Yeah, black bear meat is fantastic.
Yeah. Coastal brown bear, you are what you eat, literally. They eat all that dead salmon and stuff like that. It's nasty. But a black bear, they're omnivores. They'll eat berries, shrubbery, meat. God, it's so sweet. Dang it, Dave.
Do you make your own, Gary, or do you take it in, or what do you do?
Matter of fact, I've got 150 pounds of venison and wild pork in the freezer right now that I need to make sausage next week. But I make
nice. What do you mix your bear with?
Bear? I usually bear with like wild pork, yeah, because bear is real greasy.
Yeah.
Is a real greasy meat anyway, and if you mix it with venison, it kind of comes out like a muddled taste. If you mix it with pork, it's a lot better.
Yeah, Lazarus says he's bringing out the bison. He's got some bison in the freezer.
Oh yeah, another good thing.
Yeah. My favorite is elk. My all-time favorite. Elk is delicious.
Haven't tried it yet.
Elk backstrap cut up with garlic, roasted.
Oh, hold on, there's a bad rumor going around in the chat room tonight. Joe Smith says he caught me eating Cheerios for dinner. I'm just going to deny that right off the bat here. And we don't want to condone any type of breakfast for dinner activity around here. And that's just horrific.
I tell you what I'm going to do.
Hi, Olin. Go ahead.
I'm going to come to Canada, and I'm going to take Dave out in the woods for a survival class for about 2 weeks. And at the end of that 2 weeks, we'll be eating grubs and shrubs. And at the end of that 2 weeks, I'm going to have the wife cook up a nice big old deal of sausage and eggs and bacon and gravy and biscuits at about 6 o'clock at night. We're going to see if Dave will hold up to that.
Are you kidding me? I'm going to tell you right now, point blank, I will not, because I'm going to be looking at my new beautiful body, and not this big watermelon that I'm carrying around. By the way, Gary the Dutchman just entered the chat room, and he is the owner of the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. You want to check this stuff out. And you know what? There's nothing more that a Dutchman hates than giving you a deal. They want it all. They're greedy that way. But if you use promo code 2019, you could help grind down Gary's teeth even more, because he's going to give you a deal. And let me show you how this stuff works, as we got a little bit of a minute to go here. All right, just put it in, drop it in your hands like so, and then just massage it into your hands, and there you go. Massage it in. Massage it in. But wait, you got some on your hands. What do? You just rub it through your luscious hair. That's what you do. Ladies, this is good for your hair. All natural. No chemicals. All right? This is all good stuff. Smells fantastic. And because your hair, it's going to naturally oil your hair. You're not going to get split ends. I never have split ends. Gary the Dutchman, everyone. MightyMooseBeard.com, big-time sponsor of Spaced Out Radio. We love Gary the Dutchman around here. And let's piss him off. Let's make some orders. All right? You get those orders in, piss him off, so that way you can use promo code SOR 2019 and really upset Gary, because he's going to give you a deal. And Dutch people hate giving deals on anything. They do. All right. Thanks, Gary. We love you, buddy. Love Gary. I'm glad he finds that funny.
Definitely on the losing end of the deal in this group with the hair department.
True. All right, boys. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to make sure that you remember that, you can listen to us on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? Dactylonomy. Dactylonomy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we're going to talk Sasquatch here. And, of course, our guest, Gary Spikes Jr., who also runs the YouTube side of Spaced Out Radio. And from WIBS, Washington, Idaho, Bigfoot Society, we have Nate Rudd, otherwise known as Nate Foot, around here. And we're talking some Sasquatch all night long. Right before the break, guys, Gloria was asking about the missing 411 and maybe that it's using portals or something. Can that be ruled out?
I don't think we can rule anything out, Dave. It's I don't know. Like I said before, I think some of it could be Sasquatch, but there might be a lot more to it than that. Portals, yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, we can go back, like I said earlier, we can go back to the Native American stories and their beliefs, and they called them, kids. They considered them another tribe. They called them Indian devils, cannibals, man-eaters. You can go back hundreds of years. So there's got to be something to those stories and those legends, and I think them being here, much longer than we have, you have to take into account their stories and their beliefs. And they said that they stole children and women, and if that was the case, then they're probably still doing it.
Well, coming from a survival instructor, we as humans have a sense of sociological interpretation that we call a conscience. But if you was in a survival situation, you didn't have the sociological ruling and status that we have. Being a predator of opportunity. You're smaller than me. I can eat you for a week. I can feed my family on you for a week. Bears do it. Tigers, for lack of better terms, lions, tigers, bears, oh my. You better add Sasquatch to that, because we are not the top of the food chain. If these guys want us, they're going to take you and they're going to eat you. And it's just the law of nature.
Very true. Very true with that. But, I mean, we don't know if there is these supernatural abilities that it can cloak itself, or maybe it's just because it's been in the forest for so long, it's perfected its own camouflage with nature. I mean, when you're out in the forest every day like that, I mean, Gary, you made a comment earlier that it takes about 45 minutes for your hearing to tune in to the forest, and maybe a little bit longer for your eyes. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you're in the forest every day, I mean, we see mountain men, they're able to see things way before you and I could, because they're out there every single day, and Absolutely. They become part of that environment. Is this just a natural progression, potentially, with this creature?
Well, let's look at it this way. My dog is 3 foot tall, weighs 65 pounds, and he can run 38 miles an hour. And when he comes barreling out of the brush, I've got video that can prove it. You do not see him until he's out in the open. These things, if they're 10 foot tall, they're taking one stride to hour 3. So they're physically not having to move as much to move faster and farther distances. So I've heard of stories of documented, sightings of them running 35, 40 mile an hour. Well, look what a moose does. A moose can run when they get barreling through the forest too. Yeah, you might hear them, but they're 6, 8 feet tall, 1,200, 1,500 pounds, and they're just a fleeting glimpse. So when you add that with their natural abilities of their hair and the intelligence, here's the key factor: the intelligence and the skill set. I used to lean more towards the natural side, the primal natural. But now you have to add in, there might be a paranormal side to it.
Could be. Nate, your thoughts?
Well, are we still talking about the missing 411?
Sure.
If you look at that, some of those cases, especially the children, and I just saw a presentation from Dave Politis here a couple weekends back over on the other side of the state. And, these young children are disappearing just, maybe 15, 20 feet behind their parents. The parents turn around, the kids are gone. And they're finding, in a lot of cases, they're finding these young kids, 3,000 feet up a mountainside or on a cliff.
Without shoes.
Or with no shoes on, over 2 mountain ranges, long 22-mile distance, 2.5-year-old or 3-year-old. We all know that they can't do that. They find them with no shoes on. Their feet have no scratches on their feet. So how did that little kid get that far or that high? So that goes back to they're being carried. Something's carrying those kids a long distance or up an elevation. And how do you explain that? I mean, that is what is happening. And even with some of the adults, they're, I remember a guy disappeared. I can't recall his name. It was wintertime at, it was in Oregon, the Crater Lake, Oregon. Mm-hmm. Anyways, they found him like 12 miles away from his car. There was 12-foot snow drifts. There was no way the guy could have got that far. And he didn't have shoes on. I mean, just weird stuff like that. And, so I don't know. I mean, I don't think we know what everything is that's causing this, but in my mind, I would say that there's a good possibility that, yes.
Well, let me throw two things at you. Two commonalities in all these reports: going up elevation, taking the shoes off. One of the oldest things in the book, all the way back to the Old West, the Middle Ages, they know if we are tender-footed. There you go. As prisoners, first thing we do is take your shoes off. Mm-hmm. You can't run. You don't run as fast. Going up elevation, these things are known down here. I've seen it myself, sitting halfway up a ridge. They like to be, Nate, we've talked about this. Mm-hmm. They love to be elevated.
They like to be up high and they can watch you. Yeah, they can watch everything below. And before I forget, the other thing, when we talk about these missing kids, a lot of them, well, unfortunately, they don't find a lot of them alive, but the ones that they do rescue alive, that are still alive, a lot of them have stories of, a bear kept me warm, or a wolf ate my hat. The big wolf, kept me warm, or, and these kids are seeing this creature or being, and the only thing they can relate it to is a bear, because that's really all they know. It's a big, dark, hairy, large creature. And so again, you have that little aspect of these cases too, where the kids are actually saying, a big bear kept me warm for 2 nights.
Yeah, the famous not long
ago. That's a famous one, but there's a lot more if you read the books, and going way back, even the late 80s.
Reggaeton, the beat that has taken over the world. But honey, not a lot of people know how it started. I'm Ivy Queen, and I'm here to tell you a story. The real story behind reggaeton, none of that fake shit. It's a story of how we got loud. From Spotify Studios and Futuro Studios. Loud, the history of reggaeton. Listen for free, exclusively on Spotify.
Your property is demanding. From mowing the lawn to running a farm, you need equipment that's easy to use, efficient, and affordable. You need John Deere equipment from SunSouth. And right now, owning a new John Deere is even more affordable with 0% financing up to 72 months on select models. Plus, save 20% off select John Deere parts during our Parts Extravaganza sale. For all of your equipment needs, come see us at SunSouth. Equipment for those that do.
Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Expires August 31st, 2021.
1800s, beginning of the 20th century, these kids have stories of some kind of creature keeping them warm and keeping them alive, and so there you go. I mean, what are you going to say to that?
I gotta read this story. It's so mean, yet it's so funny. Broken-Hearted Savior on Twitch watching says, I thought I saw a Sasquatch about 3 years ago at 6 a.m. I was shocked at the hideous hairy creature. It was grunting and bent over like a silverback gorilla. I was terrified, but still managed to grab my camera. When I got closer, I realized it was my brother's mother-in-law and her razor had broken. Ouch.
Jeez. Yeah.
I can agree with that. Oh, my God.
Oh, my former mother-in-law is still pissed off a house landed on her sister. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, yeah. Yep, that is true. That is very true. With the mysteries that go along with this creature,
which creature, mother-in-law or Sasquatch?
No, we're out of the mother-in-law game right now. But with the Sasquatch, here we are. We know the dangers that are involved around this creature. I mean, Gary's close encounter, Nate, your encounters, my own encounters. what drives us to keep going and looking for this? Like, I'll be honest with you, every time I talk about this subject, after the show, the only thing I really want to do is drive out to the forest and just drive the logging roads and just see if I can find some eye shine or something along those lines. Why do we do it?
For me, it's just the unknown. It's the mystery of it. And it's such a rush when you're out there in the middle of nowhere. And I'll just use, like, you do a call, for example. We do some calls every now and then. And if you're out in the middle of nowhere at midnight, you throw out a scream, and one answers you on this ridge and another one sounds off on another ridge. I mean, I got to admit, it's just a rush. It's being able to experience these things. Now, you know, the hunting camp thing, that was different. It was kind of terrifying. I mean, Gary's encounter, obviously, you got to be careful. There's some danger to this. You got to go out prepared and all that. But just little, even subtle stuff, you know, the rock throws, if they're not pelting you in the head, you know, there's so much that happens. And for me, it's just such a rush. And I feel like I'm experiencing this, and how much of our society can't relate to it. They're not experiencing it. You know, they don't even think, you know, I don't know what the percentage is, how many people think it doesn't even exist, and we're not out there to prove it does. We're just out there, honestly, for ourselves to have the experiences together and to be able to experience some of this stuff. You know, we're going to have a lot of stories for our grandkids someday.
Yeah.
It's like a club, Gary. We have our own club here, right?
It is.
Yeah.
For me, it's facing my fear. It's an obsession. But there is the adrenaline rush there. And to me being a tracker, you know, and it's the ultimate prey. And when I say prey, I don't mean it's the ultimate trail. I'm not tracking them I'll probably never come close enough to one that I'll ever see it again. If I do, I'll probably have a heart attack because, you know, my issues anyway. But to me, it's the ultimate learning experience. I'm learning their capabilities. I'm learning their behaviorals by tracking them because they do such subtle stuff. I mean, I could be 3 hours just talking about that, but they really do subtle stuff. They really do stand behind trees and lean out like this and watch you. They really do go from tree root to tree root. They do walk along the top of logs, especially juveniles. They do step in each other's tracks. You know, they are the ultimate experience for me. And then when I seen it, it became the ultimate fear. And now I'm having to face that fear. So I'm obsessed with it.
And nature has an interesting way, gentlemen, of hiding itself. You take wild horses, for instance. Mm-hmm. All right. I never knew this until I moved up here. It makes no sense until someone explained it to me. But if you take a pack of wild horses, and if you're driving along a logging road, you'll see a pile of horse crap that's probably a foot off the ground. And then you realize that what they do is the first horse comes in, has its droppings, then the babies come in and drop their feces, and then the big stallion comes in and poops over top of that, and it's all to protect the baby horses to keep the scent away from the predators. And animals are smart, all right? I mean, if you've ever been in a forest, and this happened to me for the first time just a couple of months ago, where I saw a deer get spooked in the forest by our vehicle, and it took off literally dodging in between the trees at top speed. It's amazing what nature can do and how it's prepared every different species for the environment. And Sasquatch, whether it's supernatural or whether it's a localized earthly creature, would be no different.
Absolutely. Sheer perfection in nature.
For sure. So, I mean...
Yeah. And a lot of intelligence, too, obviously.
For sure. Absolutely, with that intelligence. So it's easy to see why it's very difficult to actually find one. But, gentlemen, we got about 7 minutes left. For the rookies out there who want to go looking for Sasquatch, okay, give us some tips on what we should do in order to try and bring a Sasquatch in to try and maybe get that sighting.
Nate, your turn.
Okay, I'll go. I always tell people to find the reports. That's where you want to start, right? Find out where the reports are coming from, the areas. Now, where I'm at, I'm in a kind of a great spot here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't have to really go too far. I mean, there's sightings and reports all around me, surrounding where I live. But I would say find the reports, the areas where people are seeing them, where there's been encounters, and go to those areas and spend time out there. And you got to train your eye. The big thing for me over the years is training my eye to spot things that are out of the ordinary. When you go in the woods, it's easy to walk by things, and I did it for years and years. But, you start to notice things after a while. Once you realize these things exist and they're real, and you see the structures and you might see a print or they make beds. They put cedar limbs down and make a bed. We've seen those before. Stuff like that. It's all about just getting out. You have to go out. So many people don't believe in this, and that's fine. But I say, well, have you ever gone out and tried it? Have you ever gone out and looked? Most people don't even give it a shot. So, but I also got to say, be prepared if you're going to go out, especially where there's bears and predators. Take a weapon if you're comfortable carrying a weapon. Take bear spray. Be prepared. But I would say the biggest thing if you're going to go out and look is during the day is look around. Look for things out of the ordinary. You'd be surprised what you can see. And then at nighttime, things a whole different thing. You might not want to start there, but you got to be careful at night because you can't see. And I don't know. You might throw out a call, and you might get something back. You might be surprised. It works for us. We get them callbacks every year. So I know some people kind of think that's silly and they make fun of it, and I don't blame them, but it does work, and we just enjoy doing it. You can't overdo it, obviously. You don't want to just be screaming and hitting trees all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Gary. What do you think? I just think look for the out of the ordinary things, and
the main thing for me, of course, is safety first. Always go with people. At night, Dave likes to say it here, we own the night. Yeah, we might own the night on the internet. Out in the woods, they own the night. But for me, the most epitomal part for me, and I tell everybody that I take, I don't say I take them out, but we go together. I say always keep your head on a swivel, look for things out of the ordinary. No matter how trivial it may be, ask. If you see something, ask, because it might be, something that you've never seen before and that you noticed. And another one for me is just enjoy. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that when you get to the point that you don't enjoy doing this, that it's not worth it. Go out and enjoy yourself. And eventually, if I'm going a little bit on the woo side, keep an open mind. We don't find them. They find us. If they see that the timing is right and they're willing, they'll find you. I honestly, I've been searching for these guys for 20 years. And out of 16, I've got 16 full-blown track. Out of 18, I have 16 live apprehensions for the Department of Corrections tracking. When I go out looking for these guys, they find me. I don't find them. I don't think I ever get close. I might be close enough to them. They might probably reach out and smack me on the butt. And I'm so busy looking at the trail. But I honestly believe that if they want to be found or they want to interact with you, they will. I don't think we can do anything that would, if they don't want to be found, you ain't going to find them.
Yeah. Very true. Gary, you nailed it when you said keep an open mind. That's super important. If you, I kind of believe, and this is going out on a limb, I know, but I believe when they realize that of them, they're there, it kind of changes things a little bit. And I don't even know quite how to explain that, but when they know that you're aware of them, a lot of times they'll come in and interact with you.
Absolutely.
And toy with you and stuff. So,
do you think
that goes, and that's going to the paranormal side a little bit, but I don't know if there's some kind of connection. I don't even know what the word would be. I think you guys know where I'm going with it, but
yeah, Nate, do you think that maybe some of these creatures are just as curious about us, and they want to interact with us. They want to maybe get close, but they're timid, they're shy.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. When they, if they know that you're aware of them and they interact with you, and you're interacting back in a way, or even if they're getting a rise out of you, I think that's a good point that you just made, Dave. They're out there. I always say we're kind of maybe their entertainment when we're out there in the woods, and people that are not aware of them or don't believe in them, stuff happens and they just blow it off, right? Or they just leave, they get scared and leave or whatever. But there's a connection there, I think, and it's hard to explain, but that's a good point.
Absolutely. 90 seconds left. Gary, you get the final word on this.
Be safe. Don't be sorry. Always go with somebody. Keep your head on a swivel. And especially here in the South, look up.
Do you think they're climbing trees?
Oh, no doubt. And just like Duke said earlier, there are other things in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Things
Go ahead.
scare me worse than Sasquatch.
Yeah. Dogman, gnomes, wood nymphs.
Aliens.
Dogman. I ain't doing Dogman. I'm running the other way if I see a Dogman.
Oh, gosh. If I were to see a Dogman, I don't know how I would react. Like I said on previous shows, I think I've been in the area with one because the energy was just pure evil. Pure evil. And it was so uncomfortable that I couldn't get out of there fast enough. And I still get the heebie-jeebies going up that road each and every time when I do. But, gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you for both of you coming on in and talking Sasquatch tonight. It is always a fun show when we get to have these topics of discussion. And Nate Rudd from the Washington, Idaho Bigfoot Society, I love you, man, and you're a very good friend of this show. You're one of the brothers behind the scenes of mine that I really appreciate that you always got time to come on with us. And Gary Spikes Jr., my man, you're the same way, man. You know what I think about you, and love our veterans like Gary out there and all of our listeners who are hanging on out. But the Sasquatch Talk ends now, and we are going to get in John Hudson for the unidentified and the unnatural and the unbiased UFO report coming up next on Spaced Out Radio. Good job, boys.
Hey, Dave, thanks for having me in on short notice.
Oh,
Gary,
dude,
thanks
we
for
love
letting me cut in on your show here.
Shoot, man, you're always welcome on my end.
I just wanted to come in and say hi to you guys. I didn't even figure I'd be on that long, but
yeah, well,
we
were dragging the minute you said you wanted the link, man. We were dragging your ass in here for the show.
I know. I knew that was going to happen. No, it was great, man. It's always good to hang out with you guys.
Yeah. Where's Hallmark?
Oh, he's probably with his new girlfriend. They've been together a little while, but he's probably with her.
Did you see what I put on his? You see what I put on his Facebook page?
Was it? Do you know that he listens to Coldplay and drives a Prius?
Yes.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. I did see that. Yeah. He had to show me. I actually didn't see it. He's like, "Hey, look what Dave said."
I love him, man. I love him. You got.
He's a good kid. He's got a good girl now. His girl's treating him good.
Good.
A night, like me and Dad and you and Corey are like very few of the father and son teams.
Yeah, good point.
A lot of people are loving that dynamics.
That's pretty cool. We should do a Father's Day show sometime, Gary.
We should.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Yeah.
If my boy was older, I would bring him in here too. But I love taking him out looking for Sasquatch, man.
Well, you know what, Dave? One of these days you'll be able to do that soon.
Well, I mean, when we hop in the side-by-side, he's always ready to go. Always ready to go. Yeah. And we go riding and we go looking and all sorts of stuff. And
I'll bet it's such an adventure for him,
Oh, yeah.
Having a dad like you into all this cool monster stuff.
Yeah, he blows me off with this stuff, man. To him, it's just like whatever. Like he's just so laid back. He's like whatever, and I'm just bringing John in here. But no, he is just he just likes going for the ride. That's his big thing. But
he's still young. As he grows older, he'll probably get into it more because it'll grab a hold of him, a little bit more as he understands it better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But we got to get you guys up here. We got to get you guys
one of these days. Yeah, one of these days for sure.
Absolutely. Boys, I got to run here. Okay. I got to get ready for the UFO report. Nate, Gary, thank you so much. Much love to both of you. Gary, we'll talk to you tomorrow. And,
thanks again, Dave.
And Nate,
thanks,
much love, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
Great show, guys.
All right, have a good night, you guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Gary and Nate, gone. Bye.
God, that story Gary told.
Isn't that just the freakiest thing? Nate, I believe. Let me just check if Nate. I think they have a YouTube channel. Gloria, 1 second. I believe they do. I forgot to ask Nate. I'm sorry. Hey, Nate, if you're still listening, I'm not sure if you are, but if you are still listening, put your YouTube channel in the link. No, Sovereign Mind, I'm in British Columbia. I'm almost in central British Columbia. Travis DeLuca, how are you, man? It's awesome. Applesauce, what's going on? Nate does not have Twitter. That I do know. Does not have Twitter. It's up there, Stetson John.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good.
I cannot get over that story, man.
And
I love the way he phrased it. There was no menace, but it was so shocking and just so unbelievable, the size of it. It's kind of like the first time you go to a zoo and you get close to a large animal, you don't realize how big they are, and you got glass between you, and it's still shocking. And
I know.
He was out in the open, still in the car, but so exposed.
A guy I knew used to train wild animals for movies, and brought me down to his farm one day, and he had this big tiger, and I'm literally a chain link. The only thing separating that 400-pound tiger and myself is a chain link fence. And I put my back of my hand up on the fence like this, and the tiger was rubbing against it. I mean, if you've never felt tiger fur, man, it's wonderful. It's so soft. I would love a pillow of shedded tiger fur. I really.
But you know what? It's so. I got to swim with dolphins once, and I got to hug a dolphin. And when you feel the size of that creature and that it's pure muscle, there is like just a millimeter of fat on that thing.
5 seconds,
and it's crazy.
Hold on, here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going on to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. It is time once again where we head into the UFO world. The Unbiased UFO Report. John Hudson is here. He's got his black Stetson on, as he does every time. And we absolutely love it when John is here to break down the latest UFO news. And tonight, we're going to get into the AIAA Aviation Conference. Was there some UFO talk at this aviation conference, John?
UFO talk, but very sane, pragmatic, serious UFO talk. And, I want to...
Angie's List is now Angie. Whether you need help with routine maintenance or you're planning your dream renovation, Angie connects you with top local pros who can get the job done right. See reviews, compare quotes, and book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, we'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with our Happiness Guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the Happiness Guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm.
That feeling when your coffee matches your mood? It's a vibe. Explore coffee that fits yours with Starbucks by Nespresso for Virtuo, now at Target. Simply add what you love for that perfect cup of coffee that keeps up with you.
I want to give a nod to Chris Plain over at the Debrief. He wrote a great article on this that I'll link on Twitter after this. But yeah, I mean, there was some good representation. There were people from several different organizations, several people that we know. And what was cool was that, there were some very serious issues tackled. And essentially, Chris calls out 5 of them. And I just wanted to bring out a couple points about a couple of them that I think, people would like to hear about. But it was really great to hear how methodical and, it sounds silly, but scientific they were about it, right? And which is what we want, right? So the first thing that was very clear was that there was a fairly uniform agreement among the 6 presenters and so forth that UFOs are real and they represent a real risk to aviation, which is a pretty a good steady statement to begin to the note of this conference on. But one of the things that nearly every presenter brought up was the challenge they have with the stigma and how it keeps them from getting researchers to get involved. It hampers their own confidence in sharing information. It's getting better. It's getting much, much better, but it's still doing harm. And, just a quick personal story. I've made this friend on a Discord channel, and I honestly, I talk to this guy all the time. We've shared things about our psychological problems that we've had, growing up. And I don't know his name. I don't know where he works. I don't know what state he works in, because he's a physicist. He's a Ivy League trained physicist, and he works at somewhere where his name matters. And he cannot tell anyone who he is because he's afraid it'll impact his ability to get grants. And that's crap. I mean, that just sucks, because he's actually doing good work. He's written his own software interface for pouring through UFO data. I mean, he's actually doing research on UFO data, and he can't share it with anyone because he can't let his name get out. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's incredibly frustrating.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly frustrating. And for him, he has trouble even getting data because a lot of people won't give out data to anonymous people, and he can't even give his name out when he asks for data. So that's how careful he has to be. And I don't think he's being paranoid. I think he understands the environment he's in.
Is he an experiencer, or is he just someone who has a real interesting take on this subject?
That I don't know yet. That my assumption is he saw something at some point. Most of us have. I don't know that for sure.
Right.
I tell you one thing though, he's a big fan of this show.
Oh, cool.
But
hello, whoever you are.
So the other thing they went into is that, and we're hearing this all over the place. We're hearing this right now from Eric Weinstein at the conference going on this week. We need more data. We need better data. We need clean data, right? And because we need data that can actually be worked on. And this means that you can't take data from a military camera and clean it for classified information and then turn it over. It's useless at that point. And so, so there's the universal clamoring for more and cleaner data. And so, the questions that I have are things like, well, does the Galileo project eventually step in there, considering the fact that they're using off-the-shelf equipment? and that data won't be held by anyone? Does UPX step in? Where does it come from?
This is part of my argument. Okay, we keep saying we need more data. We need more data. I don't think we need more data. I think what we need is a United States government and governments around the world to come clean with what they do have. All right? Whether or not... There's a reason, my friend, and if you read between the lines, there is a reason that report, the DNI report, did not go back past 2004. All right? Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. We don't need any more data. We have enough experiential topics. We have enough data with videos and eyewitness testimony. We have enough science behind it. What we need is the government to release what they have, but more so what they know. Now, we know that's never going to happen, John. We know that. However, it's time that we start pushing for that. I'm so sick of the data argument, and where's the proof? Show me the proof. You know?
Well, but the thing is I don't think what they're saying is we have to get new data. I think what they're saying is in line with what you're saying. They're either saying, hey, release the data you have. Release the data you've been collecting all this time, right? Or give us new. They don't really care where the data comes from, right? But essentially right now you have a bunch of scientists that now suddenly want to start working on this problem, and they can't work on it without data. And so whether it's new data or whether it's old data, it's very hard to get. I mean, I started looking into this recently, and it is incredibly hard to get any data. I mean, to get any data at all. I mean, even Cheryl's stuff is all in her proprietary database. I can't get a data dump on that and put it into my own database and start chewing on it.
I understand that. But John, there's 70 years of data. Okay, granted, data. Like
we hope.
Yeah, there's 70 years of data.
We hope. Right? I mean,
you and I will agree to this, my friend. You and I will agree on that.
I don't disagree that it was collected at points, but I don't have any confidence that it'll ever be accessible.
I agree with you. And I don't know if UPAX is the group to do it. I hope they are, because Gary Voorhees and Kevin Day in that group, those are good people. Those are good, honest people. I have zero interest in Sky-Hub, considering that both Bob McGuire and Steve McDaniel are no longer involved. And I think it's a dead project that's still going on the name and reputation, quick reputation that it built. And I know somebody who's hawking it. Don't trust that person at all. So I think that's a dead project there.
I'd heard similar rumors that I was hoping weren't true. So that's really unfortunate to hear. I had a lot of hope for Sky-Hub. But anyway, so the point was that you had people clamoring for more data. But I will say, as a funny side note, Eric Weinstein at this other conference is saying, read us in, we need this data. And it's kind of a funny situation, because I don't think that a lot of these physicists realize what they would be giving up if they got read in, what impact it has on their life to become read in. And so, I think some people don't know exactly what they're asking for, but we'll see how that goes. So, when it comes to, scientists, need to be the ones getting into this and rising to the occasion, we can go back and forth on that. I don't think everyone agrees. But what was interesting was a gentleman named Peter Reali, I may be mispronouncing his last name, went over his calculations, and many of us have seen these before, of, based on the rough estimates that we got from the Nimitz encounter, how much energy would it take to perform that activity? And in light of time, I won't read this, but I'll post these quotes later. But what he really comes down to is that you would need about 1.05 kilotons of TNT, or essentially a tactical nuclear weapon. That's basically how much energy was used for a vessel to go from 28,000 feet to 50 feet in less than a second. And we didn't see anything like that. We didn't see any of that energy output in any sort of way, which means it was all consumed and it was efficiently used. And that's almost as important as it is that much energy was required. The fact that they could generate that much energy and use it on a whim. They weren't getting chased. They weren't in danger. They were just hanging out, and they were able to expend that much energy just to do what essentially was for them tooling around a parking lot, right? They weren't chasing food. They weren't fleeing a foe. They were just dropping in to check something out. And they were able to drop that much energy to do that on a whim. And it was all used efficiently with nothing emitting from that vehicle at all.
Amazing.
That's astounding.
It is
It's
amazing.
astounding. It's astounding. And then the last note that I was happy that Chris made was that Ryan Graves really stood out as a significant voice in that conference, specifically talking about what he saw, where he thinks it poses a risk, where he thinks it doesn't pose a risk. And I haven't had a chance to go over everything he said, but I think what a lot of it comes down to is that if you completely ignore them, they're not a risk because they're not really going to intentionally crash into you. However, if a pilot is surprised, or a pilot is shocked, or a pilot is made fearful for their situation, and they make evasive maneuvers, then we really could have some very, very serious issues.
Right, and I could see that, and I appreciate that. Let's move on to the next topic here tonight, my friend. John Hudson with the Unbiased UFO Report here on Spaced Out Radio. And this one, let's go over to Fox News. Because,
yes,
love or hate Fox News, love or hate Tucker Carlson, and I got to admit, as a journalist, I'm not the biggest fan of his, all right? I think he's very condescending at times, but that's for another argument. Mm-hmm. Where I will give him credit for is he is really the only journalist, mainstream journalist out there on big-name television that will not give up on the UFO subject. He is not waiting weeks or months in between stories for something else to drop. He wants to investigate what is going on. And he's got another report coming out, which I think is fantastic. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so basically, it is out. It's behind a paywall. I was able to watch it today. For any of us that have been researching this for any length of time, there's nothing new in the report. But it's a really nice. I think it's about 20. I think its first edition is like 28 minutes, and it's a very nice overview of what's going on, of the seriousness of what's going on. He has several people on as guests and so forth. But the one thing that I will give him credit for is he only appears in the very beginning of it and the very end of it. He stays out of it. It's really about the topic. And so I agree with you. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of him in general senses, but I applaud him for his effort. But I also think it's an interesting statement because what you have is the number one rated cable news presenter, right? Is last I checked was Tucker, and this is a man that is not missing any of his ego, right? He's a very, very confident presenter, and that's what he needs to be the one doing this. Everyone else isn't saying anything because they essentially don't feel safe enough to do so. He does feel safe enough to do so, and so I think it's a glaring statement as to what the state is of the broadcast news because everyone else is still too nervous to sink their teeth into this. He's the one that's cocky enough to actually do it, and I applaud him for it. And I think he's doing it in a fairly uncocky, un-Tucker focused way. I think he's actually trying really hard to treat it with seriousness, and I applaud him for that.
No, I think that's great. I absolutely think that's great. And good on him for keeping the topic going. I wish he would take a deeper dive in rather than the same people he is listening to, whether it's Nick Pope, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, or anybody of that ilk. I would love to see him get into some serious conversations with some maybe not as well-known publicly researchers. I would love to see him meet with Cheryl Costa. I would love to see him meet with Grant Cameron or Richard Dolan and see how that goes.
Well, What's funny is it's actually titled Tucker Carlson's Deep Dive into the UFO, which is kind of, so I'm hoping that there's going to be more segments where he dives into it more. And this wasn't a bad one. This was a pretty good segment. I would consider it, more on par with what Ross Coulthart did. Compared to everything else we've seen. So it's definitely worth checking out.
All right. And finally, well, no, you know what? We're going to keep it right there, buddy. We're going to keep it right there. And And let's get to the news. John can stick around if he wants. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire. At the back end of every show, we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the downright idiot. Big Mac or Big Tat? A South Carolina man is accused of tattooing a child inside of a McDonald's last Friday. Brandon Prescia was arrested Tuesday after police became aware of a video in which a juvenile was being inked. Investigators determined Prescia was an unlicensed tattoo artist and that the person getting tattooed was underage. Police Chief Chrissy Lattimore stated. She said it appeared the tattooing was done in the dining area of the restaurant. Hopefully the location is keeping up with its sanitation protocols. Otherwise, kind of gross. Would you like some McInk with your McFries and your Big Mac? I don't know. Despite not being licensed, the kid looked pretty comfortable applying the ink. Yeah, that being said, pretty disgusting display. The child gets ink, this man gets arrested, and just not all around good time at McDonald's. Here's an interesting one. You know, I love stories like this. A billionaire software company CEO has given a former hermit in New Hampshire $180,000 to rebuild his cabin in a new location. Alexander Karp, CEO of Planeteer Technologies, gave David Lidstone a personal check last week. Lidstone's friend, Jody Gideon, said on Facebook. A spokesperson for the data analytics software company confirmed the donation. How can I ever express myself and my gratitude towards something like this? I start to tear up whenever I think about it, Lidstone said. For an old logger who always worked hard, for anyone to give you that type of money, it's incredibly difficult for me to get my head around. There's been an outpouring of support for Lidstone since he was jailed on July 15th and accused of squatting for nearly 30 years on property owned by a Vermont man. His cabin burned down this month shortly before his release, but he recently secured temporary housing through the winter. The location is being kept secret to protect Lidstone's privacy, Gideon said, but supporters will have a chance to meet Lidstone at a thank you event in Warner, New Hampshire this coming weekend. That's real nice. All right. Shortly after departure from New York on May 24th, my birthday, not me, the story isn't about me. A JetBlue passenger, not me, was accused of throwing his carry-on luggage, lying down in the aisle, and refusing to get up, and grabbing a flight attendant by the ankles and sticking his head up her skirt. Yeah, the pervert was restrained by the crew with zip ties. The plane made an emergency landing in Richmond, Virginia, where he was removed. Now he's up for a $45,000 fine by the FAA. Good for him. The JetBlue passenger was just one of 34 against whom the FAA proposed fines against on Thursday for a total of $531,545, bringing the total of 2021 to more than $1 million in fines. And finally tonight, an Apple II computer manual signed by company co-founder Steve Jobs in 1980 has sold for $787,400, or make that $787,484, a Boston-based auction house announced. RR Auction said the 196-page manual, which features the technical specifications and operations instructions for the Apple II computer, was signed by Jobs and Mark McCullough, the second CEO of Apple, in 1980. Julian, your generation is the first to grow up with computers. Go change the world, Jobs wrote on the inside of the manual cover. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. Who's going to win in a free-for-all? If the gloves were dropped between Dogman and Sasquatch, who you cheering for? Who you going with? Start off with Paul. Sasquatch. Always Sasquatch. Plus, Dogman doesn't exist. If they did exist, we would see way more track evidence than we do with Sasquatch. Oh, that wasn't very like Paul. You got to keep your mind open. That's an opinion, not research. Alex, we do. We win because there will be DNA all over the place. Daryl's going for Sasquatch for sure. Catherine, in a world where two species never to be discovered battle it out in a fight to win the hide-and-seek champion of the forest, starring that big brown guy who smells really badly but no one can find, and co-starring a dog that's willing to eat your leftover picnic scraps, in a fight for the title of champion, who will win? Nobody knows. Where to find them to figure this out. Joshua, Sasquatch is the heavyweight champion of all cryptids, with Mothman coming in second. Penman, is this a rhetorical question or just repetitive, Dave? How about just in fun, Penman? Write it out. Gene, Sasquatch, duh. Magnus, I lay all my chips out for Dogman, but I think the better question is, who wins in a battle between Sasquatch, Dogman, and Chad Smith? That's it for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for participating in the Thought of the Dave. We will do it all again very, very soon. Big thank you to Captain Shirk for the SOR Newswire. Nate Foote and Gary Spikes Jr. talking Bigfoot all night long. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone checking out our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Twitch, and Twitter.
I know you're out there somewhere.
This show has been copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yep, we've got room for them too. Good night.
It's the my daughter's having a sleepover with 5 of her friends, but I know just the place to go to get something for everybody. And just a little something for myself too meal. There's a meal for every moment on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu.
Like a 4 for $4 deal. Get a McDouble and add 4-piece chicken McNuggets, small fries, and a medium soft drink for $4. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
After a long wait, the family reunion will be extra special this summer. So check out Vrbo to find a private whole vacation home with something for everyone. A private pool, outdoor space, a grill. Whatever the family is looking for, you'll find it on Vrbo. The perfect place is waiting for your family. So make your reunion happen today. Download the Vrbo app. The time for getting back together is now.